Hello, everyone. Welcome live to 3 Wide TV and tonight's broadcast of the American Sim Racing Series from the beautiful Martinsville Speedway under the lights for the Famuchi Wear 200. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth alongside is Greg Renson. Greg, great to be back here in Martinsville, Virginia, the Paperclip as it's known. Expecting a lot of side-by-side short track action tonight.
Yeah, I'm expecting more of the same, Peter. Side by side, beating and banging, short track racing. This 0.53 mile paperclip, as you saw on the graphic a moment ago, the shortest track of the season for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. 200 laps doesn't sound like a lot, Peter, but when you go in 200 laps at this track, if things don't go your way, it could be a long night for you.
Yeah, that is for sure. Big shout out to Famuchi Wear for jumping on board and sponsoring tonight's Famuchi Wear 200. Make sure you check them out here tonight. But we're already moving over into Midwest Simulations pole qualifying. Qualifying, of course, at this racetrack is always important. And just a little while ago, we wrapped up the practice session. And I'll tell you what, two very familiar names at the top of the practice charts there, Greg. Greg Evans and Scott Eckrich, the two drivers who have combined to win the first 7 races of the 2021 Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series.
This has been a clinic by defending series champion Greg Evans, and new to this version of the Hacksaw series, but not new to the series, Scott Eckrich returning this year, and he is back. 3 wins already. He has been on a tear as qualifying is underway here at Martinsville. Peter, is tonight the night a new driver breaks through for that first win of the season and joins Eckrich and Evans on the win chart. We're qualifying here at Martinsville.
You know, I wouldn't be at all surprised. This racetrack, of course, races a little bit like a road course in the fact that it's basically 2 hairpins back to back and separated by, 2 relatively short straightaways. You have to watch your race car. You have to manage your brakes here considerably, manage your center speed right around the apex, the bottom side of the racetrack, and then get the power down onto the straightaways. Very important to get that launch off, and I'm sure we'll see a couple of drivers struggle with that here tonight. In fact, here we are seeing one driver struggling with it. That's the number 13, Gary Reynolds Jr., and I'm kind of flicking throughout the field here, watching them qualify, Greg. I've seen a lot of drivers struggle. We've seen Jackson Van Valkenburg have an issue here. We've had the number 23 machine, Steve Yenish, have an issue. Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine just went around coming out of turn number 4. So drivers really trying to get all they can here in qualifying, but it is Johnny Avila right now sitting on the provisional pole here in the Midwest Simulations pole shootout.
I was just getting ready to say one guy who's not struggling is Johnny Avila. And Peter, he has been very, very strong here in his first couple of starts with the Hacksaw PC series. Got a pole already at Atlanta. Here he is sitting on top of the board once again. I got to catch the end of the race last week at Texas, and it looked like he was in position to try and pounce for a win there as well, but he once again showing very strong here in the early stages. But there are several heavy hitters still coming out. You see Braxton DeWeese on track now in the number 5. I've gotten to see him a couple of times in a couple different leagues, and he is going to no doubt be a threat as you watch some of the Will Borster racing drivers try to make their way around. All still chasing Johnny Avila, the only driver so far to qualify in a 19.8 second bracket, but neither Eckrich nor Evans have made their way out on the track.
Yeah, both Evans and Eckrich were the only 2 drivers to get down into the 19.8 second bracket in the practice session. So if they were able to go out there and turn one of those lap times here, they would be on par with Johnny Avila as, oh man, the 27 there having an issue. Ooh, Doug Mullins, the number 18 machine, just spun coming out of turn number 2. This racetrack here looking very slippery here in qualifying session, but Greg, as the track temperature cools off here tonight, as it is a night race here at Martinsville, recently added lights, the drivers should get a little bit more grip.
Eckrich goes 6th on the board as he gets his lap done. And yeah, this is going to be a transition race is what I like to call it. Start in the afternoon at sunset, and it races on into the night, and we saw that debuted last year in this very race. As here comes the defending series champion, 4 wins on the year already, Greg Evans in the number 2. Got Hacksaw PCs on board this week here at Martinsville. as he comes around to take the white flag for his first qualifying lap, and he did not register a time. So Evans had something happen on lap number 1. We'll have to see what he can do on lap number 2. You saw Adam Jersky there as well. There's Jersky, but back to Greg Evans. He's only going to have one shot at it here. Something happened on his first lap. Checkered flag is out. Third, 19.857. Jonathan Cadell on top of the board right now.
Yeah, how about that? Mr. Steelhorse Live himself, number 96 machine, all alone with a 19.874 atop the board. Evans there slotting into third. Scott Eckridge unable to back up his practice time. He's currently sitting down there in 8th. So could be a very interesting start to tonight's race here. 200 laps around this racetrack, the Famuchi Ware 200. Hopefully we get a lot of green flag running. We were watching the number 14 machine of AJ Digby, who did not have a great race. Yeah, he did. Like you said, running out of time right there, and unfortunately not able to put a lap time in, but he definitely did not have a great race last week at the Texas Motor Speedway. Hoping to bounce back here tonight, but he's going to be starting well back in the field. Looks like 40 cars out there this week, Greg, and always love to see a full field here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, but picking up the pole, picking up that Midwest Simulations pole, I should say. Jonathan Cadell in the number 96 machine. Make sure you check out Midwest Simulations. Pick up some of their Spotlights Pro, Spotlights VS Pit Buddy or Pit Buddy Pro. Definitely some really cool products out there for driver awareness, which is one thing that, you know, when you're in these sim rigs, especially if you run a single monitor, Greg, you need more awareness out there while you're on these racetracks, and Midwest Simulations have those products to help with the awareness behind the wheel.
Definitely, and I'm one of those guys that is unfortunately on a single monitor at this time, so I definitely will be checking into Midwest Simulations and see how to step my game up here on iRacing. You can as well, and they are proud to bring you the Fast Time Pole Award here for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series every Wednesday night on 3YTV.
Yeah, you see cars out there right now for a little bit of warm-up. It's going to be just about 5 minutes for drivers to just get a feel for their cars here, kind of in a race situation. We saw a lot of drivers struggle with the car there on their qualifying laps, maybe have a little bit too much rear brake in those cars going around. And Greg, why don't you tell the people back at home about the brake bias, having too far forward brake bias or having too far back brake bias, and what it can do to how your car handles?
It can really mess up your corner entry, Peter. If your brake bias isn't set exactly where you want, your car is going to shoot up to the on the tight side or on the loose side. It all depends on finding that happy medium. And on a fixed setup, that's something that you can adjust. One of the few things you can adjust is that brake bias. And you're going to see a lot of drivers playing with it, especially over the course of the race. The key thing about fixed setup races, the brake bias is the only in-race adjustment you can make. You can keep playing with it to give yourself a little bit better steering in the corner. A lot of drivers will be playing with that brake bias, trying to get it to where exactly they want it as the race wears on.
Yeah, so we will be highlighting here tonight, pretty much more so than what we typically see on other racetracks, the drivers and their use of the brakes, because I'm sure we'll see a couple of rotors glowing by the end of the night. One driver I want to highlight here tonight is the driver Kevin Stone, driver number 17 machine in the Famuchi Ware number 17 machine. Just had a little bit of a moment there in turn number 1 and 2, but great to have Famuchi Ware as the sponsor here tonight in the race. Make sure you go check them out. But with just about 2 minutes left, I'll tell you what, Greg, going to be a really exciting race here tonight. I'm really curious to know what qualifying is going to mean. You know, on these short tracks, usually we say qualifying means quite a bit. But here tonight, I'm sure 200 miles, 200 laps, 100 miles, plenty of time to make up ground, but qualifying will still be pretty important, I'm sure.
Track position is going to be very important in the early stages here, Peter, because when you got 40 cars out there taking the green flag, they're all going to be tight in one group. You're going to want to try to be as far forward as you can, because you know there's going to be beating and banging in the early stages of the race. You want to try to be as far forward as you can. But as the race wears on, and unfortunately we're going to see drivers start dropping out of the race, you're going to be gradually moving your way up if you're still alive, so you can be able to creep up towards the front. Honestly, just trying to survive for, I'd say, the first half of the race. You're just going to be trying to survive and stay out of trouble. Then the second half, I think, is going to intensely ramp up, and that's where you're going to see track positioning really, really become key. So it's going to be kind of important at the start, just trying to stay out of trouble, but I think the later the race goes, that track position is going to get more and more important. And on every single caution, it's going to get that much more important because the caution laps are going to click away, and each caution here at Martinsville is about 5 laps. So you figure 5 laps click away every time that yellow flag falls. That can add up pretty quick if we have a race like we did last year.
That is for sure. Now here in the warm-up session, Greg Evans and Scott Eckrich, they are right where they were at the end of practice. They weren't able to back up their times here in the Midwest Simulations pole shootout, but Greg Evans, Scott Eckrich, 1-2 right now in our particular warm-up session. Jordan Harnish sitting in third. Brett McBride is the number 15 machine there in fourth, and Brian Yazik currently rounding out the top 5 in this particular session. We're going to see some of those drivers come from a little bit further back in the pack here as we shift over into the race session. Let's see if we can go through tonight's starting lineup. Starting on your Midwest Simulations pole is the number 96 machine of Jonathan Cadell. Johnny Avila and the number 63 machine will be starting alongside him. Folks, we do apologize. Unfortunately, looks like our graphics might be having a little bit of a difficulty here at Martinsville here tonight. But behind Cadell and Avila is Greg Evans and Rhett McBride. Of course, Greg Evans is your points leader here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Good qualifying run for the number 15 machine as well. They're in fourth. Adam Jersky, Beef Jersky's Cheesecake Machine, starting in fifth. Tyler Seville in sixth. Doug Mullen, Scott Eckrich, seventh and eighth. Will Warser in ninth. Grant Brown, they're in 10th there, Greg.
Starting in the 11th spot, keep your eyes on the Yenish Bros Racing drivers. Jeff Yenish, one of those, and the number 89, Alan Young, going to start 12th. He's a short track guy, so keep your eyes on him. Braxton DeWeese, I talked about him in the pre-race. He's a guy you got to watch anywhere we go, especially on the short tracks. Steve Yenish starts at his outside 14th. Michael Krobach and Jason Stewart starting off 15th and 16th. Krobach has his teammate right behind him in Brian Yazik. The Pink Panthers in the house tonight. Mark Cohn starts 18th. Rounding out the top 20, Corey Silva, a threat every single time he enters a race. Jonathan Holstein, your top 20.
Starting in the 21st position will be the Famuchi wear number 17 of Kevin Stone. Tim Knott will be alongside him, rolling off in P22. Woody Mahan, Danny Gutierrez, that number 08 has been fast over the last couple of weeks. Watch for him to make a charge through the field here tonight. He'll be starting 24th. Anthony Pelican and Jackson Van Volkenberg on row number 13, while Pete Baskins and Gary Reynolds Jr. will roll off from row 14. Adam Blattel in the number 7 machine with Thomas George will be rounding out your top 30. We'll just take you through the rest of the field. John Eckhart, Evan Black, 31st, 32nd. Michael Larch in 33rd. Troy Haight, 34th. Kevin Klein rolling off 35th. Mark Myers, 36th. Jordan Harnish, Cody Spiker, AJ Digby, and Richard Fletcher rounding out the field here tonight. Jim Foose in the chat letting us know 3 drivers going to the rear for Texas violations. The number 1, the 27, and the 7. Of course, number 1, driven by Jason Stewart, was due to start 16th here tonight. The number 27 machine was due to roll off in 37th already, so at the back of the pack. And the number 70 machine, who, of course, everyone has their eyes on that number 70 of Scott Eckrich. He will have to come from the back here tonight. Comes in tonight, second place in points. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, pace truck is headed down pit road. Jonathan Cadell, Steel Horse Live, is about to get us underway here in the Famuchi Wear 200 at Martinsville. Green flag is out, and they're off into turn number 1, Greg.
Avila tried to make that outside lane work, but that inside line so strong here at Martinsville, especially on the initial start. And no surprise, Cadell able to break away, but Avila not going away. Side by side now for second as the defending champion comes in, but Cadell's going to lead lap 1.
Yeah, and I've been really impressed with that number 96 of Jonathan Cadell since coming back here to the American Sim Racing Series. Has been really, really quick and has played his races extremely smart. Greg, we saw him back at Phoenix, very, very good. And of course, Phoenix is one of those racetracks that is somewhat of a short track. Some people categorize Phoenix as a short track because it is so flat and you get a lot of side-by-side racing. But here tonight, another short track showing that he knows how to get on the brakes to get around these racetracks like he did at Phoenix. Up there at the front, but right behind him is the points leader, Greg Evans. Greg Evans was the bridesmaid in this race 1 year ago, coming home in second. Can he do one better here tonight in the number 2 Hacksaw PC's premier machine?
You gotta figure that the way he has run so far, no doubt, confidence is very high in the 2 camp right now. But Avila in that 63 right behind him, as well Adam Jersky. Remember, his best finish of the season was a second. That came at Bristol, another short track, nothing like Martinsville. 2 very different racetracks, but it isn't a short track. Adam Jersky had his best finish of the year on a short track last year. Here he is going for 3rd right now in the Beef Jersky's Cheesecake Emporium number 69. He might have the spot. He's got Doug Mullins right behind him, a guy still searching for his first Hacksaw victory. As through 1 and 2, Jersky in 3rd. We got trouble for the first time. Caution's out.
And it's the number 51 machine, Mark Cohn, who has got around coming out of turn number 4. Looks like possibly a single car accident. He's backing up. Whoa, I think that was your race leader. It was your race leader, Jonathan Goodell, just barely scooting on by there. Good job by Goodell to not get into the back of the Nezumi Studios. Number 51 of Mark Cohn. We'll see what happened here on 3YT replay. Saw a little bit of rear end damage on the car. Oh, there was some contact there. Jonathan Holstein, I believe that was, getting into the number 51 machine. We'll see if we can get another look at that as a spotted Cal Brand 73 Chevrolet. And the number 51 there made a little bit of contact high atop in our helicopter cam here. Greg, as we'll get another look at this one.
Woody Mahan trying to get around him on the inside, and he gets him, and then right there, Cadell tries to make a move on the inside. Unfortunately, they run out of real estate. And Peter, I hate to say it, but I think that's going to be a trend here tonight. Corner exit, definitely going to be places you got to watch, and especially for something like that, you've got guys trying different lines to get that run down the straightaway, but these corners are so tight, and really the only way to make any real headway here is to get your car down as low as you possibly can. A couple cars on pit road getting a little bit of damage repaired, maybe top off the fuel just a little bit. We're not expecting fuel to be an issue here tonight at Martinsville, but a couple cars coming down just to get a little bit of early race repairs, some little bit of work done to them. But going back to what we were talking about there with the caution, just unfortunately with the preferred line being as low as you possibly can get, you're going to have those real estate battles, and unfortunately we see one here early, and Mark Cohn going to be the big loser in it.
You know, I went back a little bit, Greg, to the very start of the race when the green flag fell for the first time. There was actually a pretty big stack up in the back half of the field between a couple of the drivers, including the number 28 machine of Troy Haight. The number 92 of Evan Black got sideways. It was a big accordion around the 24th position or so. A couple of cars maybe just getting a little bit too antsy and not watching the car in front, and we had a pretty big stack up back there. In fact, Mark Myers got into the inside wall. That's the reason the 04 machine actually came down pit road, is to get some damage repaired. AJ Digby also got a piece of damage. Jordan Harnish appears to have gotten some damage in that scuffle as well. In fact, Harnish came to a complete stop on the front stretch. Same thing with AJ Digby. Surprised that didn't bring out a caution flag right at the beginning of the race, but hopefully a couple of drivers have learned from that as the pace truck lights continue to stay on. There you see a couple of those damaged cars a little bit further back. We'll see if the pace truck lights turn off this time here in round number 8 of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Want to thank each and every one of you in the chat for joining us here tonight. Jim Foose, Chris DeWeese, Todd Kirkwood, Howard Strother Jr., and Kathy in the DMLC Racing channel, all joining us here on 3YTV here tonight. If you're in the chat, make sure you get in the chat. We'd love to hear from you and give you a little bit of a shout out. We keep our eyes on the chat as the race goes on, and really want to hear what you're thinking of what's going on out here at Martinsville as the sun goes down and the lights crank up.
Chevy Silverado pace truck pulls down onto pit road, coming to start lap number 12 of 200. Jonathan Goodell's led every one of them so far. As we get set into the restart zone, we are back underway here at Martinsville. Goodell trying to break away on the inside once again, like he was able to do at the start.
Yeah, that number 96 machine down there on the inside line, that's the preferred groove here around Martinsville. That's a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn number 2, but he clears the number 2 machine of Evans. Kind of deuces wild there for a second as side by side back behind them, Johnny Avila side by side with the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins. Great run so far here tonight for the 18 of Mullins. Hasn't quite been the season Mullins has been hoping for in that machine as they dive off. Whoa, contact between a couple of the Will Wursler Racing teammates there as Will Wursler got into the back of Mullins. I'm sure Nikki Wursler in the chat, I'm sure she's having a little bit of a heart attack after seeing a couple of those cars coming together out there, but looks like the 29 of Wursler going to pick up a slot. He's got another one of his teammates lined up right back behind him. That's the number 11 of Tyler Seville right there, getting out underneath Avila.
I wonder what Tyler Seville was thinking when he saw the contact between the two teammates, knowing they're all in communication with each other. We got problems behind them. Alan Young in the 24 broke loose off of turn number 4, hit the wall. Seems like he's going to be okay for now, but losing quite a bit of ground. Trying to find where exactly he fell in position-wise, but he had a moment off of turn number 4, stuck on the outside. Here we see a look at the replay.
Oh, car around coming out of turn number 4. Danny Gutierrez in the 08 machine right in front of Scott Eckrich, who was trying to charge his way up through the field. Second caution flag is out here tonight. We'll see if we can dial up the replay. There is the damaged 08 of Danny Gutierrez. Go a little bit further back, side by side right here with Evan Black. Now that is Scott Eckrich right behind him. The man who's second place in points, 3 wins to his name in the number 70 Anvil machine. Could have been 4 last week, and oh, the 08, too much beans coming out of the corner. You see the 08 get a piece of it. The DMLC Racing Channel machine, Pete Baskins also getting a chunk of the 08 machine, but that will put us under caution here for the second time here tonight.
John Goodell is taking off once again. That inside line really seems to be the preferred line. As we take another look on board, Eckrich, good run, but right there you see him just break loose, and that's we talked about the contact, but that's something else that these drivers are going to have to keep an eye on. Yes, there is a lot of grip from the racetrack right now. Track temperature is only 69 degrees right now, but you still got to be careful driving this thing off of corner exit. If you get on that throttle a little bit too early, it can end like that. The car will just snap around on you like you see right there. Wow. And unfortunately for the 39 there, things just kind of closed up real quick.
Well, you have to remember, Greg, on these short tracks, they still run the high horsepower package. So a lot of horsepower to those rear wheels that you have to lay down into the racetrack, get that rubber to grip up off the corners. And as the tires do wear the, they start to get a little bit more slippery, not only on entrance through the corner, but also on exit. In fact, that's, in my opinion, one of the keys to Martinsville Speedway is not burning up your rear tires too early. Because if you get into the habit of getting on the power just a little bit too much to just get a little bit of wheel spin, you will make matters worse. It will be a compounding issue where you lose rear grip, you spin your tires more. So you lose more grip, so you spin your tires more, and so on and so forth. So you really start to make things worse. And we'll see which drivers here tonight are able to keep the tires underneath them. Throttle control and brake control, very, very important here at Martinsville.
As we get going here, talking about that throttle control and brake control, Peter, about what percentage would you say you're going right now? Would you say you're in the going full bore right now? Would you say you're kind of hanging back, going maybe 50, 60, 70%? If you're in the driver's seat right now, about how hard are you pushing the car at this stage of the race still early?
Well, as a race car driver, I'm never going 50%. At this point, you're probably going, I would say probably 80%. You don't want to push the car too much at this point in the race. You don't want to get into a bad situation with a car around you. You've probably logged some laps in practice. You kind of got a feel for what you're going to do out there in the race car. However, very quickly, depending on your situation, depending on the battles that you have, you might decide to crank it up very quickly to try and push, especially when track position is important, and it is here at Martinsville. I'm sure we're going to see some different strategies later in the race for track position. Meanwhile, Pacetrack is headed down pit road. No strategy in hand right now. It's Jonathan Cadell in the number 96 machine. There's a big stack up in the back of the pack. What happened? Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Big rat, Krobach.
Jackson Van Valkenburg, Michael Krobach. Krobach is on the wall. Tim Knott in the 41 machine has lost the front end. Wow. The 72 perched up there in the wall. The 12 of Van Valkenburg upside down. Van Valkenburg has left the facility. Wow. What just happened here?
We're going to have to take another look to figure that out. That started with Scott Eckridge and I believe Cody Spiker were the two that I saw initially have the issue. I saw Eckridge break loose on the start, and I saw Spiker, who was to his outside at the exact same time, hit the wall. That's where this all started. Okay, well, there's Eckridge in the 70. Maybe it wasn't Spiker that I saw. Oh, no, it was Yenish. My apologies. It was Steve Yenish in the 23 that had the issue. And you see them all come together right there. And Van Valkenburg gets stuck in the wall, gets hit by Black. You see him pop up. There goes Spiker in the 19.
You know where I think this all went down. We need to watch this replay once more. The number 5 of Braxton DeWeese. I think he had a little bit of wheel spin coming out of the corner, and it led to a snowballing effect. Now you can't really see, you can kind of make out that number 5 machine there, just as the
Right
car
there.
that just smacked the wall. He got a little bit of wheel spin, got into the 23 machine, and then caused a little bit of a stack up behind him. And then the 12 of Van Valkenburg and the 72 there are Krobach. Wrong place, wrong time for them. Kevin Stone, the number 17 machine. Look at the 72 just getting launched up into the air. And Van Valkenburg, well, I don't know what he turned into there. Just got thrown up into the air like a piece of paper. And here comes out the yellow flag. Not very long for that green flag to be in the air there, Mr. Flagman. But really, really tough restart here for the field. And got to be mindful of those rear tires. Remember, we were just talking about those rear tires there, Greg, that the rear tires are starting to get a little bit slick at this point. We saw 08 of Danny Gutierrez have an issue, and here we had another issue on the restart with the one car just trying to lay down the horsepower, maybe a little bit too much.
So with these rear tires going away, we have 3 sets of tires available on pit road. We're getting set to come green, so if you take one more quick look on board with Van Valkenburg, but the pace truck is in. We're coming back to the green flag. Cadell still leading. How many more restarts do you want to try on these tires as they are really getting squirrely? Doug Mullins had a big moment there, and Worcester has to take a base of action to get going, and they're not done. You have Worcester and Mullins again make contact, second time today.
Yeah, those teammates a little bit argy-bargy up at the front here, but that's short track racing, as Eddie Hamlin would say in one of his 10,000 starts. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, Greg Evans all over the back bumper of the number 96 machine of Cadell.
Oh.
As Cadell runs a little bit wide in turn number 2, he opens up the door for Evans.
Salt mapping to Doug Mullins. He way overshot the corner, and he is falling all the way back into the clutches of Brian Yozik outside of the top 10. This happened going into turn number 1 last time by. He overslid or something happened. The valve lead is settled down, but Doug Mullins is a big loser here. He falls all the way back down to 10 in the clutches of Jeff Yanish.
Yeah, he almost got into the back of his teammate there, Will Worcester. So the Will Worcester teammates are not on the same page here tonight. Let's watch this replay. You see he locked up those front brakes there, slid up the racetrack as the Knott run into the back of Will, and lost quite a few spots now, falling back to the 10th position. So race possibly unraveling for Mullins, but there's a long way here to go. We're just now on lap number 30, folks. Can you believe that one? The 72 of Michael Krobach is on pit road getting damage repaired. Same thing, I believe. We have one other car on pit road. I think it is Thomas George in the number 88. Jackson Van Valkenburg in the number 12 has taken it to the garage as well and called it a night here at Martinsville. Where's the number 70 machine? Scott Eckert. Well, with all of his troubles, he's actually been able to get up to the 50 position. Caution flag once again out here at Martinsville. What's happened, Greg?
Now we're looking around in the production truck. I was watching the 70 of Eckridge with you. We're hearing it's Mark Myers in the 04. And Gutierrez involved as well in the 08. Taking a look at the 3 live TV replay. And look at what happened. It's turn number 1 here.
Here we go, looking at the 08 machine of Danny Gutierrez. The 04, oh, the 04 got loose up in front of him, and oh my goodness, just straight down the racetrack into the front of Danny Gutierrez. Second time tonight, the 08 has been involved, and it's going to be a long night for the 08 machine, and it appears race control at this point. We have a lot of cars out there already beaten up in the first 40 laps.
And they're taking their look on board with Mark Myers. And I think there may have been one more car involved in this. Not sure if Mark Cohn got a piece of it or not. Couldn't tell from that angle, but from the initial angle, I saw a lot of damage on the back of Mark Cohn. We'll have to take one more look at it and see if maybe the Pink Panther right behind him got a piece of it. I'm not 100% certain if he did or not, but I saw a lot of rear end damage on that 51. Here's he is. He breaks loose. And does Cohn get a piece? Yes.
And look at the 04 machine there. Kevin Klein trying to do all he can to stay out the back of that 51. I think Kevin got a chunk of damage there. We'll go back and maybe see if we can get an onboard with the 4 machine of Klein. No, we'll go on board with Mark Myers. I think that's we're gonna go. There we can go back. We got the skills now to dial up these replays in a flash here, folks. Here we go, on board with Kevin Klein. Let's see if we can see exactly. He couldn't see a thing there, Greg. He could not see that unfolding. He had Alan Young right there, the number 24 machine, kind of blocking his view. So kind of coming onto the scene late on that one, but he did pretty much as good as a job as he could have to try and avoid any further incident. And I think that number 4 machine will live to fight another day here at what has already been a little bit of a caution fest at Martinsville. We had a good opening run here to start the race, but it seems like cautions have bred cautions here over the last 15-20 laps.
Well, I'm taking a look at the 4 car right now. He looks relatively okay. At a 1.5 mile track like we've been at for the last couple of weeks, I'd say no, it's going to be a long night. But at short track, that's not too bad. You can still try to fight your way up there. Unfortunately, Meyer back in 31st position right now. Up front, Jonathan Goodell is still leading. Todd Kirkwood asking in the chat what happened to Scott Eckridge. He was caught up in that big wreck with Van Valkenburg and Krobach and company. Eckridge was actually the one that sent Krobach up in the air in the number 70, so he got his damage from that incident.
Yeah, so really up at the front, I know we talked about track position earlier and how important it was to get a good qualifying spot in the Midwest Simulations pole shootout, and it definitely was here tonight as really your top 10 relatively unscathed, but not all too far back behind them. You find drivers like Scott Eckridge, like you mentioned, they're missing a front end, looking a little bit like a modified, being caught up in accidents. So track position has been key here tonight. We're about to go back to green flag racing. I believe lap number 38 this time by. Jonathan Cadell in the number 96 machine has so far led every single lap here in Martinsville. And Adam Jersky in the 69 dives it up to the corner. Contact with Will Worser and still contact with the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville. 3 wide down the backstretch. Will they make this work? Contact between the 29 of Worsler and the 11. Yeah, that's going to send Corey Silva up the racetrack in the number 94 machine. Trying to go 3 wide at Martinsville is not advised, folks. I got to say, this is one racetrack where 3 wide on 3 wide TV is usually not a good sign.
Yeah, you can definitely say that 3 wide here would not be a good idea. Boy, it was a rough restart there for Will Wilson Racing. Will got shuffled back and then trying to get up there. Got in the back of Tyler Seville, gave him a shot in the shorts, and everybody kind of went flying from there. It's settled down now, but boy, that was a hairy restart for the Will Worser camp. Man, I would not want to be on that radio right now because that's about the 3rd or 4th time the teammates have gotten together at some capacity in that team.
And caution flag is back in the air. I believe the number 78 machine, Anthony Pelican, has had a little bit of a moment. We'll see what happened to the pink and black 78 Ford Mustang. There he is. Let's see if we can dial up that replay here.
Back to the east right behind.
We'll see. Looks like he's all alone at this point out there on the racetrack. Number 5 right behind him. Like you said there, Greg comes out of turn number 4. Just pretty much beans. Goes around. Luckily doesn't hit anything. No one hits him. So that's the cleanest wreck that we've seen all night long here at Martinsville.
Oh, we got to have a new award for that now because, yeah, it's been quite the adventure. We go on board now with Pelican. See, going off of turn number 4. This is going into 3 right now. There's pit road entry. Just going to break loose right there.
Yeah, so, you know, it's going to be one of those, probably one of those things at this point, race control are going to be telling the drivers, hey, folks, let's calm down. Let's get back to racing clean, racing hard, but be mindful of what's going on and how those tires are indeed changing. Looking to see if we got any takers on pit road. We do have the number 29 machine, Will Wartzler, Evan Black as well, also on pit road. So maybe a couple of drivers electing to get a little bit off strategy right now, Greg, because this is the point where you might start thinking about using one of your tire sets and trying to get off strategy. Maybe you can get that green flag run and then stay out when a majority of the field pits, get that track position, get out front. And we always see those types of games here on the short tracks, but I think we've already started to see that tires are relatively important, at least for the stability of your race car team.
To be honest here, Peter, is there ever really a true strategy going into a Martinsville race, or is it really just survive as long as we can? We talked about that in the pre-race. You really have no clue what to expect with a race like Martinsville. I mean, and hey, we've seen a couple long-ish green flag runs, but for the most part, it's been a couple of laps and you also got a caution. So really, you just got to try to figure out what you want to do with the tires. And when the race is constantly changing like this and you're having all these frequent restarts, is it worth staying on a set strategy, or do you kind of just come in and with just the go with the flow mentality and just whatever happens, happens, and you just adjust from there?
Yeah, got to go with the flow of Martinsville here tonight. We had a lot of caution flags last year in this particular race, and we're starting to see a similar trend here tonight. If you're wondering how many caution flags did we see last year at Martinsville, well, yeah, like I said, it was quite a few. 22 cautions for 113 laps here, the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Hopefully we can clean things up here tonight as the pace truck lights have turned off once again at the front of the field. Jonathan Cadell will lead us once again back to green, so far leading all 45 laps here at Martinsville Speedway, but you can see the sun has pretty much set, the lights are turned on, and hopefully we're about to see a green flag wave, Greg.
And here's the thing. When the sun goes down, that means the moon comes out with the lights on. And Peter, the way this is going, is it a full moon tonight? Green flag back in the air.
It might be a big pizza pie of a moon here tonight, but off into turn number 1 goes Jonathan Cadell, but we got a battle right behind him. Grant Brown in the double zero machine. I was just about to mention him, Greg, before that last caution flag came out, but he has gained now 8 positions from where he started up into second. What a great race it has been for that double zero machine so far. Johnny Avila, remember, he was on the outside pole to start this race. He was trying to get up into third. He gets around the number 2 machine of Evans. So Evans, your current points leader here in the series, going to slide back to 4th, right in front of another driver who's having a great run here tonight. That's the number 15 machine. Got VRS on the hood of that Matt Black Chevrolet Camaro. He's running inside the top 5 right now in 5th.
Nice run for Red McBride. But I want to brag on the double zero for a moment. As you see that awesome looking number 2 of Greg Evans from Hacksaw PC's on board. But I want to brag about this double zero for a second. He is a short track guy, Peter. He races late models up in the Wisconsin area, the Big 8 late models. He gets to race in Wisconsin. So he knows a thing or two about short track. His nephew painted that car. 3 years old. His nephew designed that race car tonight, and Uncle Grant's giving it a run right now in that number 00 up into the second spot. But he's a short track racer. Races in the big 8 late models up in the Midwest, races at Elko Speedway for a track championship. He knows a thing or two about short track racing. I'm not at all surprised to see him making a charge up to the front, but he's got a very fast number 63 right behind him in Johnny Wheeler.
Yeah, but you know who I'm watching? Driver at the back half of the top 10. Scott Eckridge in the number 70 AMSOIL modified here tonight has already worked his way up into the 9th position. Folks, remember, he had to take an end of longest line penalty at the start of the race here tonight in the Famuchi Ware 200. Already up inside the top 10. We've had all those caution flags. We haven't had a whole lot of green flag laps to make passes, but somehow Eckridge has found himself in 9th trying to work on Doug Mullins in the car right in front of him. So Eckridge here, caution flag has come out once again. We got a couple of cars, Kevin Klein, I think, involved in this one on around turn number 1. We'll see what happened here, including the number 4 machine going off in to turn number 1. And ooh, a couple of cars checking up. We'll see if we can get this one here. Let's see if we can go on board here with Kevin Klein. Because there was an accordion effect happening in front of him. There's the initial contact, the number 73 machine, and the 73 started to get loose down there. That's an interesting one to call for the admins. That might be one of those shared caution type things, because the 73 machine was going around. The 29 of Warsaw was able to check up in time, but Klein did not check up. Ran into the back of Warsaw. Spun him around. Let's see if we can get a look at this. There's a 73, then the 4 kind of this is an interesting one to call for the admins, because I think the 4 going around might have been what caused the caution. I don't know.
Well, here we see contact between Holstein and Cone right there. Holstein goes down and overcorrects, comes back up. By the way, Mark Cone and Kevin Klein have loaded up on the hauler for the night. There's a little bit more contact between Holstein and Cone right there. Now picking it up back in the field. There you see Klein already going for a spin into number 4. Does anybody else get a piece of it? Mark Myers looks like he's going to torpedo his way in there. Eckhart right behind him. He gets through. You see Worsler up there coming to a stop in the 29. And almost some contact between Eckhart and Worsler as they get going. Boy, been a rough go of it for some of our drivers here in the early stages.
Yeah, that is for sure. We'll get another look at this on board with the Will Worsler Racing number 29 machine. He was just on pit road about 10 laps ago or so. There's that initial contact. You see him check up and did a fantastic job of keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Got it completely stopped. A couple of cars trying to go by, but great job to not make things worse for driver of the number 29 machine. Here we go on board with Jonathan Holstein. You're not going to see a whole lot of Mark Cone. You see him get loose there coming out of the corner, and there's the initial contact. He tries to save it, and gets into a little bit of a tank slapper, goes up the racetrack, turned around, and man, almost high sides it down there on the bottom side of the racetrack, but looks like that machine will get back out there. He's on pit road right now, however, but I think he went out there for a lap and came back in to get some of that damage repaired. He's working his way back out there onto the racetrack. As I say that, Jonathan Holstein being scored in the 32nd position here tonight, but pace truck lights are off in all this badness, so we're about to go back to green flag racing. A couple of cars there just coming off pit road.
You know, Peter, as we get set to restart this race, I'm looking through and I'm seeing more cars with some damage than drivers with none. But the cleanest one right now is the driver up front, Jonathan Goodell. Grant Brown does have a little damage on the right rear of that double zero as we get rolling once again. A little bit of a pass before the way. Sorry.
Yeah, green flag is feeling. Brown and Avila's around at the front of the field, and that's the worst spot to go around the 89 machine, getting into the side of him. That is Jeff Yenish in the Tampa SUV Rentals.com Toyota Camry. Nowhere to go for Jeff Yanish. We'll have to see what happened right here on the replay, but that might have just been a case of getting into turn number 1 a little bit too hard with some cold tires there on that restart, Rick.
It almost reminded me a little bit of, remember the Cup race here in 2012 when the Hendrick cars were on the front row and Clint Boyer just kind of decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it at the end. It almost reminded me of that. Not quite to the extent, though. But once we get a look at the replay, I'm going to see a lot of similarities between Grant Brown and Johnny Avila. Adam Jersky back there as well. Here we go. Here's the restart. Now watch. Avila's just going to try to go for it right there. Just, again, just breaks loose. Evans gets through. Wow. And then Yenish just piles in. Jordan Harnish collected in the 27.
Yeah, luckily that was not worse than it was. I mean, spinning right up at the front of the field, you could end up with, 10, 15, 20 cars wadded up there in turn number 2, especially as the track narrows. They're coming out of the corner on board here with Johnny Avila. He sends it off into the corner. You see that back end come around, gets up into Grant Brown, the 00 machine. Good news for Grant Brown fans is he was able to come out of that without any damage and stay in the second position. So Grant Brown going to be on the high side once again on this restart. Here we go, another look on board with Avila. And folks, very easy to do that here at this racetrack. Here we go on board with one of the Beef Jerky's Cheesecakes machine, trying to not drop the cheesecake here tonight in Martinsville.
Well, this is the 1-year anniversary of Don't Drop the Cheesecake, and piled into the back again. So yeah, unfortunately that cheesecake got dropped. Second year in a row. Looks like a little bit of cheesecake getting dropped here at Martinsville.
So I'll tell you what, it's going to be an interesting night here at Martinsville. A lot of caution flags here in the first half of the race. We'll see if it cleans up in the second half of the race. But you know what, Greg? Here at this racetrack, it's known for the hot dogs, but you are known for the cheesecakes. Do we have a cheesecake of the race here tonight in Martinsville?
Oh, we do, but our friends in the 3YTV production truck decided to surprise me with it of whatever the Greg Rent's cheesecake of the race may be on the 1-year anniversary of it, and I was right. I bought that at a local grocery store earlier today to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Don't Drop the Cheesecake. A variety cheesecake, several different options here for you. And of course, it's 1 year, it's a special one. Who doesn't love a little bit of a variety? The Greg Rent Cheesecake of the race is whatever you guys want it to be tonight.
I absolutely love strawberry cheesecake, so make sure you save one of those pieces for me once this race is all said and done. Pace truck heads down pit road. Jonathan Cadell once again leading us back to the green flag. Grant Brown in the 00 to his outside. The green flag is going to drop, and a little bit of a wiggle out of the 00 machine of Grant Brown right there at the front of the field. He's going to slot down there into second, but they're side by side back behind them. How about Greg Evans and Red McBride? McBride trying to use that high line to make the pass, and Greg, as these tires do wear here at Martinsville, that high line does start to come in just a little bit, especially if you can pinch the car down there on the inside. We'll see if McBride can hold on to that spot. No, he can't. He got on the brake there a little bit early, and caution flag back out in the air here. AJ Digby, the number 14 machine, got around on the front stretch.
Take a look at what happened here with Digby. Take a look now at the 3Y.
Running right in front of Woody Mahan there in the Alliance number 84 machine. Looks like too much meat there coming out of the corner, and that's heavy contact. Might have caught one of the other cars back there.
That's a hard hit for the 14 of AJ Digby. I want to go back to that restart, though, with Grant Brown making that save. We'll take one more look at Digby first. We'll go on board with the number 14. See if it happens here. Off of turn number 4. Right there, you see, kind of similar to what we've seen a couple times, just breaking loose. Peter, the track is almost turning into almost a dirt track, if you will, with how these cars are breaking loose. But I want to watch this 00 car, because remember, what happened with Avila the time before, now I'm not saying they're at all related, but I'm saying what happened with Grant Brown, he might not exactly be too mad about it. As you see him kind of struggle a little bit there, and he's going to fight it and then get down to the bottom. I think Grant Brown was more relieved to be able to get down to the bottom, because while we talked about that outside line coming in, after that last restart, Grant Brown may have been a little bit gun-shy to be on the outside, and he may have done that intentionally just to try to fall in line behind Cadell before Evans or the 15 of McBride could get in there. Unfortunately, he's going to have to do it all over again.
That he will. We're watching the number 14 machine of AJ Digby. He is receiving an end of longest line penalty for the caution flag, so he's letting some of the cars that just came down pit road by. And speaking of those cars that just elected to come down, Tyler Seville was one of those. The Will Worcester Racing number 11 machine. Woody Mahan joining him on pit road as well. Jeff Yenish, Mark Myers coming down. I know a couple of those cars have been pretty heavily damaged. John Eckhart in the number 45 machine coming down pit road right now. So looking up and down the scoring pylon right now, your top 12 drivers from Jonathan Cadell back to Adam Blattel, those 12 have yet to come down pit road here tonight. Alan Young in the number 24 machine came down around lap number 19 here tonight in the number 24 machine. He's the first car to have made a pit stop, running in the 13th spot. Michael Larch in the number 3 machine, he's running 14th. He's yet to make a pit stop. But then pretty much everyone behind Michael, from Evan Black in 15th on back, have come down to make at least one pit stop here tonight, up to drivers like Mark Myers and Danny Gutierrez. Those drivers have made 7 pit stops here tonight in Martinsville, trying to get their damage repaired.
Here's the thing I'm wondering, Peter. If you're up in the race lead like Cadell, who's led all 70, make it 71 laps thus far, when do you pit? Do you want to come down here at some point, give up that track position, get the tires, or do you want to milk this cow as long as you possibly can, get as much out of it?
That's a tough question. You know, with the way these caution flags fly, I would think you want to pit around the halfway mark, maybe even a little bit before the halfway mark, maybe as soon as your pit window opens, which will probably be with about, 120 laps to go or so. So that's not all too far off in the future. I'm sure these leaders will be coming down relatively soon if we get these caution flags to keep coming back out. Hopefully not, as the green flag is back out here at Martinsville. As the number 2 machine of Evans gets to the inside of Grant Brown. We've seen these two side by side a couple times here tonight, halfway down the back stretch. Looks like Evans has that preferred inside groove. Can he roll the center of the corner, get that car turned up off, get the power down? Looks like he can. New second place machine. It is your point seater, Greg Evans, in the Hacksaw PC's machine, trying to get the win here tonight and do one better than he did last year. Car around turn number 2. It is the number 39 machine, Pete Baskins, the DMLC Racing Channel Ford, who has spun it around. We'll see what happened right here. He gets it back rolling in that machine. Get this on the replay here. Running right in front of the number 28 machine of Troy Haight, right behind the number 5 of Luis. Was there any contact here? Whoa, there looks like a little bit of contact. One, two. And Hayton, oh man, right down in front of him.
Yo, the 17 having to check up there. Nicely done. But a couple of different spots of contact between Pete Baskins.
Yeah, so not sure if there was any bad blood between those two. We'll see this looking out back. There's nudge number 1. There's nudge number 2. And that number 39 machine going around right in front of a lot of cars. Great job there by Kevin Stone in the number 17 machine, the Famuchi Wear sponsored race car, to avoid any further contact. We'll go on board with the number 17 machine and get his look and avoidance here. Going off into turn number 1. And let's see. There's a lot of smoke. There's a race car, and good job there to avoid it. Didn't get to see a whole lot there, Greg.
And that's something that's kind of new with this newest patch that we call it for iRacing. tire smoke has really been finessed here, and it's really made it difficult to see when you've got action going on in front of you. Let me tell you from experience, this made smash to pass races quite the experience when you're coming off a corner at, say, South Boston, and all you can see is smoke, and you know there's cars in there somewhere. That's what these drivers are experiencing right now. They're coming around. They're having a hard time seeing with the refined smoke here in this latest build. Just another great upgrade for iRacing here. But it's really going to play a role in some of these short tracks, I think.
Yeah, it is definitely going to play a role on quite a few racetracks. I was watching a super speedway race at Talladega just yesterday, Greg, and the amount of smoke that was out there on the racetrack when there was the big one that ultimately happened was immense. Cars further back in the back just could not see what was happening up ahead. It led to one of the biggest big ones I've seen in a long time on iRacing, especially in a series that was, you know, a pretty big series. Not for fun, not just joking around, but a fairly professional series here in iRacing. So it's going to be something that these drivers really have to be mindful of, not only here on short tracks, but big tracks as well. We'll see if some drivers elect to lower their graphics because of that. It wouldn't be the first time we've heard of things like that. Drivers trying to find a little bit of an advantage in that regards, but it's really cool that iRacing is adding it for a little bit of realism, so to speak.
Lights are off on the pace track. Watching a little bit of a tape delay right now. We're about half a lap shy. Pace truck is just pulled in right now, so we'll have to get caught back up live because green flag is coming out right now. We're back underway here. Gotta get the production truck caught up here. The green flag hasn't fallen.
Yeah, Mr. Production Truck is dropping the cheesecake here tonight, Greg, and caution flag is fired, so we didn't miss a whole lot out there. I wonder what happened. Hearing Scott Eckridge might have had a moment in the number 70 machine. No,
I think
maybe not.
I think the interns were fighting over the cheesecake, unfortunately, in the production truck. Let's take a look at what happened here at this restart. We're just going to go up. You know what? Let's just take a look at the whole facility and see if we can find the smoke or whatever we can find here. It's happened very quickly.
The number 92 of Evan Black, I think it is, Greg. We'll see that right there with maybe a little bit of not too happy with the number 3 of Michael Larch. There's the 92 going up and around. I was able to save it, get back rolling pretty quickly right there in front of Scott Eckridge. But watch the number 92. I don't think he was too happy there with the number 3 of Michael Larch. Maybe a little bit of argy-bargy there under caution. You see those two still running side by side as they're trying to contest that situation. We'll see how the race administrators see that one. Good look there of the number 29 machine of Will Worsler out back of the 92 of Evan Black. But here's that replay of that possible contact there under caution. Short track tempers, Greg.
They're just exchanging cheesecake recipes. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, let's see if we can jump in there and see if we can talk to one of these drivers. We're about halfway into the race here tonight. See if we can make sure we're live. We did that last year, folks, and a certain driver named John Jenkins is never going to let us down for that one. But let's see if we can dial up the race leader. How about that? Jonathan Cadell in the number 96 machine, Mr. Steelhorse Live himself. We'll probably bring him in here with a hot mic. You know, because that's typically what you do is you bring in the one streamer with a hot mic. Jonathan Cadell, number 96 machine, so far led every single lap. How are you doing there, bud?
Well, I was getting ready to shotgun another beer because this is getting boring, but we're doing great right now, leading all the laps. I led 69 laps, so we got one accomplishment. Now let's lead all the laps, and then they keep wrecking. I keep winning. I might not even have to pay for fuel, man. This is great.
You know, I was about to redeem my 4,000 natty light points, but I can't because someone must have just done it. I got a 27-minute cooldown there, buddy. But I'll tell you what, it seems like Martinsville in these short tracks, like Phoenix for a couple of weeks, they are right up your alley.
Well, it helps when you get the pole when they wreck every 0.25 laps, but hey, you know what? I'll take it, man. We got one to green here, and try to lead some more, get the most laps led, maybe win the race. Who knows?
All right, buddy. We'll let you get back to it. Best of luck here. Maybe you won't have to pit. We'll have to find out.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, that is Jonathan Cadell, number 96 machine. Absolutely stoked here tonight. Getting the pole so far, leading every single lap. And Greg, he's right. If they keep wrecking, he keeps leading.
And we talked about that. That's how David Washington got the win last year in this race, just by staying up front, dominating the day. And Jonathan Cadell saying they keep wrecking every 0.25 laps. Not quite that extreme, but he gets away once again. Evans right behind him, kind of playing out very similarly to last year. Red McBride now up in third as he tries to get around Grant Brown.
Yeah, the number 96 going to clear it right up at the front of the field, but that number 15, like you said, clears Grant Brown, moves the 00 back to fourth. Here comes Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine. Remember, he had problems a little while ago with his teammates, and he's right there inside the top 5. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead right now. Here comes Greg Evans in the number 2. The Hacksaw PC's machine had a look to the inside, but the 96 holds on for now. That's going to bring Rhett McBride up to the back bumper of the number 2 machine. They're still side by side right now between Corey Silva and the 69 of Adam Jersky. That's a side-by-side battle for the 7th position back there. Beef Jersky's Cheesecake Emporium 69 machine going to roll the bottom through 1 and 2, and he's going to move up into the 7th spot here, Greg.
Jersky on the move in the number 69, but I'm impressed with Corey Silva. He started 19th. Jersky, started 5th in the number 69, but Silva started 19th, now up to 8th. Right in front of him, Brian Yazzie started 17th, up to 6th. So a couple of drivers starting deep in the field have made their way up to the front. But how about it? The biggest movers of the race are right behind each other right now. Jordan Harnish and Cody Spiker. Problems for Grant Brown in the 00. As he's going to fall back to Doug Mullins. He's going to fall to 5th now. So the 00 tracking the wrong way now. But Jordan Harnish, one of those guys who had that EUL penalty to start the day off, a lot of damage on the back. He's climbed his way into the top 10. Here's a look at what happened with Grant Brown.
Yeah, Grant Brown in the 00 machine goes off into turn number 3. He must have had a little bit of a brake issue. Got in a little bit too deep, and caution flag is out on the racetrack right now. It looks like the number 1 machine, Jason Stewart, has gone around coming out of turn number 4. We'll see what happened here to bring out the caution flag. We'll see a little bit of a different look on the number 1 machine. Got a whole bunch of spray paint on the hood and on the side. Sponsor redacted on that race car. But let's see what brought out this particular caution. Evan Black in the number 92 machine can report that he has taken his car to the garage. Going through turn number 3 and 4 right here. All is nice and clean, and a little bit of a bump there from the number 89 machine. That is Jeff Yanish. And just like that, the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart goes around. Caution flag is back in the air here as we close in on the halfway mark here in tonight's 200 lap event, the Famuchi Ware 200 at Martinsville, Greg.
Taking one more look on board with the Dirty Bird, Nathan Stewart. You see the contact. Half the field on pit road right now. Still no sign of our leaders yet coming down pit road yet, Peter. So you see some of our drivers taking tires. There's the 69 of Jersky on pit road, among others, pulling off here. So again, drivers kind of just going with the flow and deciding what they need to do. Grant Brown was the highest driver to pit on this one. He came down in the 5th position. He's going to roll out now and figure out where he slots in. But again, drivers just trying different stuff and just going with the flow of the race and seeing what they have to do to try to make this race work.
Yeah, and now our race leaders will be on older tires, and I'm looking up again at the scoring pylon. Your top 15 drivers stayed out under this particular caution. So from Jonathan Cadell all the way back to Jonathan Holstein, as Woody Mahan, the 15th place driver, elects to come down pit road this particular lap. So there's some different strategies out there. Now, Alan Young, Braxton DeWeese, Scott Eckridge, Tyler Seville, John Eckhart, Gary Reynolds Jr., those drivers inside the top 10, they have all come down pit road at some point. In fact, Eckhart there, or Eckhart Eckhart there has come down pit road 5 separate times. I was looking at that, but I was seeing Eckhart and Eckrich, and I was getting them confused, but they're both there on the screen, folks. I'm sure you can read, unlike myself. But Eckhart has been on pit road 5 separate times tonight, and he's inside the top 10. Scott Eckrich there, been on pit road once, 30 or so laps ago. Alan Young, he pitted back on lap number 19. So some different strategies, but your top 4 all staying out here at this point of the race as we close in on the halfway mark. And Greg, remember what I had said just a little while ago. I expected drivers to pit just a little bit before the halfway mark. Well, here we are, a couple of drivers pitting just before the halfway mark, but your top 4 staying out.
So it's very, very scattered, smothered, and covered right now as far as the pit strategy goes, but the top 4, they've yet to come down. Like you just mentioned, we're a little bit before halfway. I think this is going to be the last restart of the first half, because even if we get a caution right away, it's going to carry us through to the halfway point. Cadell has led every single lap, and he said, hey, if this keeps going, we may not have to pit for fuel at all. So I think Cadell's wondering if they can go the entire way just like this, are we even going to see the 96 on pit road as the green flag falls?
Only time will tell. Side by side off into turn number 1, and the 2 of Evans dives it in deep. This is the best side-by-side battle we've seen for the race lead all night long. Evans, though, gonna slot into second, but Cadell dropped in a little bit hard. But yeah, like you said there, the 2 of Evans catching the curb just a little bit, had to check up. That allowed Cadell to get back to the race lead. Here comes Mullins, but Mullins sends it in too far, locks up the rear tires and slides up the racetrack there, Greg.
A little bit too much send there on the number 18. That allows Rhett McBride to move into the 3rd spot now. Alan Young trying to follow through, as does Braxton DeWeese. And number 5, he's having quite a night with the DeWeese entry. Up
now you have to.
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah, you have to remember at this point of the race, you know, your race leaders don't have a whole lot of green flag laps on their tires. Probably only about 50% of the race so far being run under green flag conditions, and 50 laps here at Martinsville. The number sounds big, but due to the tire wear here, usually you don't see a whole lot of drop off here. Yes, you do feel it as a race car driver, but you do kind of plateau relatively quickly. At least that's based off of my experience. So we're going to have to see how some of the drivers who just came down pit road, like Grant Brown, are able to slice their way up through the field. Grant has already made his way up to the 11th position, right in front of Steve Yenish. He's running right behind Gary Reynolds Jr., trying to knock on the door of the top 10 here. Drives off into turn number 3 behind the number 13 iHeartRadio machine. But at least for right now, as we are now, it's the second half of the race, Jonathan Cadell is just a lap away, folks, from locking up the most laps led here tonight. So far has led from the drop of the green flag. No one's been able to get around him, partly due to the fact that we've had a lot of caution flags, but hopefully we can get a little bit of green flag running here. And every time I start to think, all right, we're starting to get some green flag laps and a caution flag comes out, hopefully that doesn't happen here under this particular run. But right now your race lead about 0.3 of a second. Here is a battle between the 13 and the 23. You see Grant Brown has gotten around the number 13 of Gary Reynolds Jr., as has the number 23 of Steve Yenish. Yenish was on pit road 21 laps ago in the Tampa SUVRentals.com machine. But oh boy, Pete Baskins is around once again, Greg. Not the first time we've seen the DMLC Racing Channel machine pointed the wrong way.
We'll take a look at what happened. Oh, one car going backwards. Who's that going in reverse on the front stretch? That looked like Digby in the number 14. Let's take a look. Here, what happened with Baskins in the number 39? Going down the back stretch here.
That's Adam Blattel there in the number 7 machine, and looks like too much rear brake on that race car, sends it right around.
Oh, and you can see the contact between Avila and Digby as well, which sent Digby around. And we got the leaders on pit road. Jonathan Cadell has had enough.
Yeah, that number 96 coming out pit road. The number 14 machine of AJ Digby finally gets it turned around and pointed in the right direction. He's going to drop well down the order. That's going to give the race lead to Braxton DeWeese in the number 5 machine, but Cadell is coming down to his pit crew with the other cars that had yet to pit. Greg Evans, Rhett McBride, Doug Mullins, Jonathan Holstein, Woody Mahan, Danny Gutierrez also on pit road a little bit further back in the pack. You see the driver who picked up the Midwest Simulations Pole Award here for tonight's race on pit road. But let's see what happened here between the 14 and the number 63 machine. Oh, I think that was a little bit of net code, unfortunately, there, Greg, as the 14 just got tagged right there at the back end of that accident.
And you see him just kind of rolling in reverse right there, kind of letting it all come to a stop. He actually wound up rolling down almost the entirety of the front stretch here. So for the first time all night, we have a new race leader, and it's not that number 96 of Jonathan Goodell. It is not AJ Digby. It is that black and red car. 3 black and red cars there to choose from, and it's Braxton DeWeese in the number 5, leading his first laps in Hacksaw PC's Premier Series competition here at Martinsville. Not at all surprised to see him up front, though, here at a short track. Like I said, he's thinking about a career in drag racing, the Ohio driver is, but I got to tell you, Peter, DeWeese, I've seen him in a couple different series here, gotten to race against him once or twice in hosted races. Kid's a wheel man when it comes to an oval, so he's thinking about drag racing, but here he is leading the way at Martinsville.
Well, let's see if we can find where he resides right here on the current Discord that we're on. See if we can pull him in for a quick word. I'm not seeing him, however, on here, so it doesn't look like we're going to be able to drag Braxton into the 3Y TV booth for an interview at this stage of the race. Scott Eckrich in the number 70 machine right behind him right now in a little bit of a modified. Greg, that number 70 got quite a bit of damage earlier on, but with the pit strategies playing out, he's worked his way up into second. And remember, he's the only other driver not named Greg Evans to get to victory lane this year.
And could that change here tonight, though? Because Eckrich is going to have his work cut out for him in that number 70 modified right now. Modifieds at Martinsville? No, never. Here at Martinsville right now. Meanwhile, Greg Evans, as a result of the pit stops and all that, he is back in 26th position. Greg Evans is going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to have to hope that he gets some luck with cautions and more pit stops. The field is now in the hand of Braxton DeWeese. Green flag in the air. He beat Cadell off pit road, though, did the 2 of Evans. So here we go. DeWeese taking a shot up front, trying to lead his first green flag laps in his Hacksaw PC's career. But he's got one very, very fast number 70 behind him. The question is, though, what's that damage doing to the 70 of Eckrich? Tyler Seville up in third now. The Will Worcester Racing entry making his first really, really big appearance of the night.
I'm watching Jonathan Cadell and Greg Evans, and they are in a hornet's nest right now. They are absolutely boxed in, and there are cars locking up back there, getting slideways. They are not where you want to be out there on the racetrack, both on the scoring pylon as well as just in the relative track position. It is a mess back there. Will Worcester with a late lunge on the number 45 machine of John Eckhart up near the top 10. We're riding on board here with the man who started on the pole here tonight. You see him trying to get around the 04 of Mark Myers on the high side. That's Johnny Avila right in front of him. Avila running back in the 34th position, 16 laps down. So you can tell, Greg, these cars that were up there near the front, they have a lot to deal with here in the final 89 laps here at Martinsville Speedway.
And it is going to click away sooner than you realize if we can stay green. Battle for second. Tyler Seville has gotten to the inside of Eckrich. No, Eckrich able to shut the door. Seville knows a thing or two about short tracks. He won at North Wilkesboro last year. Caution is out. Fletcher going around.
Yeah, the 43 of Richard Fletcher, he already had quite a bit of damage on that machine, the Will Worcester Racing machine. We'll see what happened. I think he was all alone by himself out there on the racetrack, so this might be an incident of a car getting a little bit too much beans out of the corner there. He is right in front of Pete Baskins. On through turn number 3 and 4 right here. Doesn't look like there's going to be any contact here. Just gets loose out of the corner. Is that AJ Digby? No, that's the number 13 machine, the iHeart radio machine on the Gary Reynolds Jr. race car. He was off the pace as well. So maybe we can check in and see what happened to Gary Reynolds Jr. as well here on the replay, but we'll get another look of the 43 onboard. Gets on the throttle just a little bit too much, and around he goes. So we are working another caution flag here tonight. Let's see what happened to Gary Reynolds Jr. in the iHeartRadio Chevrolet. Right. Oh, smooth. Yeah, pretty much the same thing happened to him right in front of Adam Littell in the number 7. And the iHeartRadio machine gets into the inside wall. Tough break there for Gary Reynolds Jr. to pick up a little bit more damage. Not the first time here tonight. Where is Greg Evans and Jonathan Cadell? Well, they're now up to 21st and 22nd under that green flag run that we had right there. Running right behind Michael Larch, just outside the top 20. So we'll watch their rise up towards the front of the field. Braxton DeWeese, still your race leader here at Martinsville. I know, Greg, you've said a lot about him. Scott Eckrich, we've talked a lot about him. But what about Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine? Currently running in the 3rd position. Really good looking hot rod is that number 11 machine. We'll see if we can dial up the 11 for a quick word here on 3 Wide TV here under this particular caution flag. Number 11 machine, Tyler Seville, Peter Short, 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll tell you what, been a lot of yellow flags here tonight, but seems like your strategy kind of working out here. Probably have more than enough fuel with all these caution flags to make it to the end. How's that number 11 running?
It's just battle of survival right now. It's been quite the night with all these cautions. But like you said, I'm good to go on fuel. I should be good to go to the end. I definitely don't have the quickest car, but we'll see. We'll get the best position we can for the end of this.
Well, track position matters here at Martinsville, and you're up there inside the top 3. You've been knocking on the door here over the first 8 or so races here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Hopefully you can get the job done here tonight. I think the pace truck lights are turning off here, so we'll let you get back to it. Best of luck there, Tyler.
All right, thank you.
All right, these caution flags tick by very, very quickly here at Martinsville, with the track only being a half mile in length. Folks, if you're just now joining us, thanks for dropping by here on 3 Wide TV. Mike Orth in the chat here dropping in, saying that a boy number 5, Root non-Braxton DeWeese up there at the front of the field. Chris DeWeese as well. Sim Racing Realtor asking if there were any green flag laps. Yes, there are some green flag laps here tonight, believe it or not. But pace truck headed down pit road, races back, green flag once again, and the number 25 machine, Braxton DeWeese, leads us. Yeah, off it to turn number 1, Greg.
He's under pressure from Eckrich, but he's going to clear him off of turn number 2. Meanwhile, way back behind him, the 19 of Spiker going around. No caution yet as Spiker's off the racing surface. He must have been below the line not to trigger a caution, because that was a gnarly little moment there. That must have been sitting in the perfect spot to not trigger a caution. Let's take a look at the replay here on 3 Wide TV. I saw this. Caution's out now. We'll have to see what happened here in a moment. If you take a look at what happened with Spiker, you see Eckhart right behind him. A little bit of contact there, but I am amazed that did not trigger a caution right there, Peter.
Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't bring out a caution as well. Meanwhile, up in front, Alan Young and Tim Knott were battling right here. Ooh, maybe a little bit of rubbing right there on the front stretch. Still nothing doing. Now the 41 and the number 3 come together, and Tim Knott goes around right there, and that's some pretty heavy contact.
Tim Knott in the Gunskins entry. Quiet night for him. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to anger anymore. There's the 41. This is what put us under the caution. And we were trying to figure out what was going on with Spiker when this happened. See him right there off of turn 2.
Yep, and into the inside wall. So that is a definite issue for that race car. We've seen a lot of that out of the field here tonight. Unfortunately, you see just how many of those race cars are beaten up, banged up, and I'm sure they're going to have to go back to the shop and get all repaired for next week's race here in the American Sim Racing Association, the American Sim Racing Series, excuse me, because we got a good one for you folks next week. Because I gotta say, we go all the way from Martinsville to another short track. That's right, race number 2 of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown heads to Richmond for the Richmond 200, 134 laps around the 3/4 mile D-shaped oval in Richmond, Virginia. I love going to Richmond. It produces a lot of side-by-side short track action, and definitely one that you folks aren't going to want to miss here on 3 Wide TV. Same place, same time on the channel. And Greg, Wheelman Showdown next week, of course, a lot to play for in that. Is the winner of that particular Wheelman Showdown. It's kind of a championship within a championship. Season long, goes all the way through October. The winner of that particular showdown gets their own custom steering wheel.
And Greg Evans, our defending Hacksaw PC's champion, he won that as well last year, stealing it at the end from Tyler Seville. No doubt Tyler Seville wants some redemption in that one because he ran so good in that little race within a race, if you will, the little stretch of races. So Seville definitely wants some redemption as well. Very, very excited to see what comes next with that group, with that particular little mini series in the series.
Yeah, that is for sure. 1-2 green pace truck lights have turned off again. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering where on earth is Greg Evans and Jonathan Cadell. Well, they're moving their way up through the field. Evans up to 14th, Cadell up to 15th for this upcoming restart. A little bit of bumping and banging happening further back in the pack around John Eckhart in the number 45 machine. They're just trying to get things sorted out for this restart, as the front half of the field has things sorted out. They're doubled up here for the restart. The race is in Braxton Deweese's hands. He's on the loud pedal, but look at Eckridge there in the number 70. He got a good restart, and he's trying to keep side by side with him coming out of turn number 2, but unable to do so. Deweese leads here at Martinsville.
Grant Brown pounded the wall on the restart there, Peter. In the number 0-3 wide deep in the field. As things try to get settled down here deep in the field, and it's getting down to nitty-gritty time now. We are in the second half of the race. 127 laps on the board right now. We'll complete that lap this time by Deweese leading the way. Jonathan Cadell has the most laps led locked up as they roar through. Complete lap 127, but man, this thing is not over yet because the two fastest cars, Greg Evans and Jonathan Cadell, are still trying to slice their way through the field. But oh, smoke up in front! One car around.
The Deweese leader. The number 5 machine has gone around into the tire barriers. The same thing we saw a couple laps ago. No caution flag for this. Can you believe that? Braxton Deweese from the lead going around. What happened here, Greg?
Let's take a look. Contact with Eckridge in the number 70. Going off into turn number 1 and 2. See what happened here from the tell-all chopper cam. Deweese. Just a big run from Eckridge. Unfortunately, Deweese is right there. Tyler Seville and Grant Brown and Brian Yazik were all able to get by Eckridge, as you see Seville going down. And man, that is such a heartbreak there for Braxton Deweese. No caution, just like what we saw with Spiker. It must be that one spot on the racetrack. Meanwhile, something else happened here. We're watching Jason Stewart in the number 1. See what happened with the Dirty Bird here. Oh, he just broke loose there and noses it into the wall, but was able to get it going before it triggered.
Yeah, that just bounced off that outside wall like a pogo stick and gets back going. Green flag stays in the air. Can you believe that one? So, Jonathan Cadell just got hip checked by the number 27 machine. Back in the pack, and they're still beating and banging back there, and they're still beating and banging. The 18 machine of Doug Mullins goes for a ride. We are trying to wreck here at We're still trying to wreck. We're 3 wide. Can you believe this, folks? They're still 3 wide further back.
Oh, now Alan Young gets hit by Mullins, and that'll finally trigger the caution.
And Alan Young goes around, and my caution flag is out. Wow. Like I said, it looked like they were just trying to bring out the caution flag, and they were just unsuccessful lap after lap after lap. Finally, the caution flag waves here at Martinsville with 67 laps to go. There's the, there's when the 24 got into the back of the 18. There's the 94 in the 18. Going side by side. In fact, you might have to go a little bit further back to actually see how this all got to this way. But then a little bit of contact between the 18 there and the 24 of Alan Young, and let's see if we can back it up just a little bit further, because really it happened right here with the 27 and the 96. 27 gets into the corner, and you couldn't quite see it, but 27 broke loose. The back end kind of kicked out. Then there was a little bit of a hit check, and Jonathan Cadell and the 24 have a little bit of a nudge there on the back stretch. And then the 18 and the 94 come together right there. A little bit of net code. And the 18 breaks loose. And then the 24, he might have bounced off the wall there, Greg. Might have sent him down the racetrack into the 18 machine. But that is just a tough break. Jonathan Cadell on pit road in the number 96 machine right now. All right, folks, welcome back live to 3Y TVs. We apologize about that. Too much excitement here at Martinsville Speedway. Oh my, we want to thank each and every one of you joining us here on the channel for all of the action here. There has been a lot of action. We talked about it at the top of the show, Greg, that we expect there to be short track action. And we've seen plenty of it here tonight. A lot of beaten up race cars.
It has been a wild one, and we're not done yet here, Peter.
We are not done yet. That is for sure. We have right now 64 laps remaining at Martinsville here in tonight's Famuchi Wear 200. Big shout out to Famuchi Wear for jumping on board a late hop on board as a sponsor here in the American Sim Racing Series. I'll tell you what, if you want to jump on board and sponsor one of these races, get in contact. The man is in the chat, Jim Foose, if you want to jump on board and sponsor one of these races, because it is not possible. This league is not possible without sponsors. There's a lot of them. You see a lot of their names up there in the top left-hand corner of the screen. American Regardless, Hacksaw PCs. I'm running a Hacksaw PC myself, and I gotta say, I love my Hacksaw PC. I've been running it since the start of the season here in the American Sim Racing Series. Go check them out. Absolutely the best customer service that you'll ever find buying a PC. Better than Dell, better than HP. Don't buy big stream. Don't buy mainstream. Buy a Hacksaw PC. Great quality PC that I have. And Famuchi Wear as well. Make sure you go check them out as well. But here we go. The green flag about to come out once again here at Martinsville Speedway, and up at the front of the field, it is the number 11 machine, Tyler Seville, who leads us up into turn number 1.
Seville able to break away in the number 11. Yazik and Eckridge side by side. Eckridge will not go away in that number 70. Speaking of not go away, Grant Brown in the 00 trying to get up here and makes a noise. Big bobble from deep in the field there. I believe that was Will Worsler in the number 29. He comes back as they fight on the inside. One car falling in the back. That is the 15 of McBride. They're able to save it. Side by side, still battling it out. Yazik. Oh, big slide for Grant Brown.
Grant Brown, your second place machine, gets all up out of shape. Now got the 55 of Brian Yazik to his outside. He's going to slide back to third, but Eckridge goes around him up to second once again. He's going to clear the 00 machine. Here comes Steve Yenish, number 23 machine. Remember, he's had his problems earlier in the race, Greg. And look who's up there in 7th right now. Greg Evans in the Hacksaw PC's machine. He didn't come down pit road. Jonathan Cadell in the number 96 machine. He's on fresh tires. He's flying out there, the Steel Horse Live Toyota Camry. If you want to check out Cadell's through the field, oh, let's put a stamp on that one, because caution flag back in the air here. Hearing it might be Jonathan Holstein and AJ Digby, the 14 and the number 73 machine here. Greg, let's see if we can dial up the replay.
See what happens.
Yeah, these the 73 machine right here and the 14 machine, they're coming together, and yeah, just a little bit of a coming together, and unfortunately the 14 just got kind of tagged there at the end. It looked like DeWeese dropped down there on the low side. We were almost 4 wide, folks, here at Martinsville. That's never going to work out, but Holstein goes down there. The 14 gets tagged, and the 73 goes around. Caution flag. once again in the air. Aunt Kathy asking if we've hit the caution count here tonight. It looks like Cody Spiker there, the number 19 machine, got a late piece of that one as well. But folks, it has been a wild one. I don't think we've hit 25 here tonight, Aunt Kathy, because I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think we've hit 25 just yet. We'll see if there is a caution count graphic that we can bring up here. Unfortunately, we're kind of running on backup graphics here tonight in a sense of things. It just hasn't been our night here on 3Y TV. I'll tell you that much. Sometimes you just have things go against you. Well, these drivers have things go against them as well, Greg, and some of that's been caution flags here tonight.
And unfortunately for guys like Cadell, who were leading the way and we're so thrilled to see it happen, unfortunately, they finally had to come down pit road. And ever since then, it's just been a matter of just trying to get themselves back into the mix. But the two of Evans has had a nice recovery in the Hacksaw PC's Camaro. And Peter, pop quiz for you. 4 wins on the year, but Greg Evans, with 4 wins on the year, would you guess he has led double-digit or triple-digit laps?
Double-digit. Because he's come out of nowhere to win races right at the very end. I mean, he's one of those drivers who is much like Jonathan Cadell, what we have seen out of the number 96 machine since he got back here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. A closer. He knows how to get to the front of the field at the end of the race, and when he does so, he's a force to be reckoned with. And here again tonight, we saw him drop back to 21st position, and he's all the way up there to 6th. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with here tonight, and we'll see if we can bring up that pit graphic, because he has fresher tires than all the cars in front of him, not by a whole lot. But he has about 30 lap fresher tires than Tyler Seville, 40 lap fresher tires than Scott Eckridge, and then about 13 lap fresher tires than Grant Brown, Brian Yazik, and Steve Yanish around him. So he's got slightly fresher tires. He's an extremely smooth and extremely fast race car driver. Keep our eyes on the driver who has won 4 times in the first 7 races here this season. Pace truck headed down pit road. Green flag is going to be in the flag man's hand once again. Tyler Seville in the Will Warsaw Racing Machine. We talked to him just a little while ago. We mentioned he's been knocking on the door of getting to victory lane here in the championship. Leads us off into turn number 1. Scott Eckridge in the number 70 Amsoil Chevrolet. Going to slide into second. Is it still a Chevrolet there, Greg? Can't quite tell as it is a modified out there, but Grant Brown running in third, and they're side by side right now for 4th.
Just leading the modified is for sure in the number 70 as drivers continue to try to battle it out behind him. But Seville, caution.
Caution flag is back in the air. Kevin Stone's gone around. The 28 of Troy Haight has gone around on the front stretch. We got the 73 machine, I think it is, who had also gone around. So we'll see if we can dial up this replay, figure out what exactly happened on this restart. But I want to say, Johnny, it happened. It happened with the number 1 machine and the 28 having a little bit of a issue there on that particular restart here, Greg. Kind of stacking him up. Maybe Woody Mahan having some wheel spin as well in front, and then kind of an accordion effect going on.
Come around, a little bit of contact, and like you said, just a bingo, bango, bongo. Oh, Avila, wow. That was a hard hit, and ooh, someone getting up in the air. We saw Krobot get airborne earlier, and Van Volkenberg as well. Take another look at that, because that could have ended the night for a couple drivers.
Yeah, not sure who it was that ended up going up into the air. If I was to think it's anyone, probably a 4 machine of Mark Myers, who got up into the air. Sure enough, it looked like it was. I'll go on board with the 04 machine right here. Jonathan Holstein in the 73 machine was the car that kind of launched him. Holstein appears to have called it a night, perhaps, in the number 73. Here we go. Slow motion replay. There's Troy Haight. There's Mark Myers. And Stage left. Here comes Jonathan Holstein. You see AJ Digby getting into another one. Here's Jonathan Holstein finally arriving on the scene and launching the 04 machine up into the air. All four wheels off the ground here. That looks like it'd be Talladega or Daytona, not Martinsville there, Greg.
And it's not the first time we've seen Martinsville having a very uncharacteristic race as far as all four tires on the ground coming out, because that's about 4 cars now that have gotten air here tonight.
Yeah, something you don't typically see here at the famed half mile, Martinsville, Virginia, Martinsville Speedway. The paperclip, as it is known, and I gotta say, maybe we should put a paperclip on this race, put a paperclip on the folder and close it up and not see it again until the 2022 season. If you're wondering where Jonathan Cadell is, remember our pole sitter here tonight, we've been trying to monitor his rise up through the field. He's currently running in 16th, right in front of Pete Bassins, behind Jeff Yenish. Very fresh tires on that race car, but hasn't had a whole lot of time to be able to use those fresh tires to gain some of that track position back up, as a lot of these caution flags have been happening further back in the pack, but we still have 47 laps to go as they go across the start-finish line here, Greg. And I wish we had a caution counter. I'm not sure how many we have. I'd have to count them all up manually here tonight, but it has been a wild one here at Martinsville, to say the least, much like what we saw last year.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit better off than last year. I think we're somewhere in the 15 to 16 range right now. But man, it has been an adventure here at Martinsville. Once again, the spring Martinsville race has been a rough one for these guys, and no doubt a lot of them are looking forward to putting it in the rearview mirror. The green flag is out. Who will be the one driver who's very happy at the end and parking it in victory lane? We'll find out here in 45 laps as Seville tries to clear Eckridge and does. Grant Brown back to him in second.
Car around turn number 1. Caution is back in the air. The number 94 machine, Corey Silva, appears to have gotten turned around. The 13th placed driver was running right in front of the number 13 machine. We'll see if there's any contact. Indeed, there was, going off into the corner. We'll get this one right here on the 3Y TV replay. He had Gary Reynolds Jr. right back behind him. You see there right in front of Jonathan Cadell. Didn't get a great restart. Goes off into turn number 1. There's the nudge. 94 goes up the racetrack and into the outside wall. Caution flag back in the air. Kevin Stone, that number 17 machine. He does have tonight's race sponsor Famuchi wear on the hood. He might need to wear something a little bit different after this one, Greg, because he's been slicing and dicing his way through accidents, what has seemed now for about the last 100 laps.
Closing stages, and the intensity is going to ramp up more and more and more, Peter. So I do not think we're done. As a matter of fact, I hate to say it, but I think we're just getting started here in this one.
Caution speed, caution lap count, winds down, action heats up. We don't know what we're expecting to see over the closing laps, but what we have seen over the last few weeks here in the American Sim Racing Series is a lot of clean racing, Greg. I mean, we saw, a decent number of cautions at Phoenix, but it still wasn't an exorbitant amount. Here tonight at Martinsville, though, the caution count really going up. That is for sure. In fact, the race administrators have made a change, Greg. They have actually changed to single file restarts. They've seen enough of this side-by-side action. They've seen enough of the contact. So we're going to go single file restarts for the remainder of the race here tonight at Martinsville. Hopefully bring that caution count down. I'm sure some drivers will be wondering where that was 50 laps ago, but the admins, you see this a lot on short tracks across the country. If you've never been to a short track in the United States, whenever you have a race like this, and trust me, they do happen in real life, they usually change to single file restarts, Greg, and that's what the admins have elected to do here for the remainder of tonight's race. And I gotta say, that's the admin stepping in, making a call, seeing what's going on out there on the racetrack, and trying to put on a better show for the drivers. The drivers in this race want to be out there. They want to have green flag. No one loves pacing. And hopefully we can get some green flag running here to the end of the race here tonight.
We had a race here in the Northwest for years and years and years. The future of it is up in the air right now because the track it was hosted at was closed. It was called the Fall Classic at Yakima. And every year there was a bet which heat race was going to be the one that they just had caution after caution after caution. There was always one heat race that took about an hour. And every year there was always a bet on which race it was. And we're seeing one kind of like that here tonight. Seville leading the way. I think this single file restart is going to help the cause now, because now we're going to see them single file and just trying to settle it down. Green flag back in the air. Seville leading the way. Already much cleaner, as you don't see any real beating and banging going on here, as Seville trying to break away from Eckridge.
Oh, 29 machine will gone around turn number 1. Caution back in the air. That didn't seem to help, folks. We're back under caution, and it is the number 29 machine, a Will Worsler, who has gone around. And unfortunately, that is going to bring out the yellow flag once again. Let's see what happened here. We didn't make it, but a quarter of a lap before the yellow flag waved. Let's keep our eye on the 29 machine. We got the 27 machine there. Jordan Harnish giving him a nudge. And goes around and gets into his teammate there, Doug Mullins. And caution flag back out.
So
we'll
try it once again.
Yeah, we'll try it once again and see if we can drag someone up here into the 3 wide TV booth. Let's see if we can get one of those drivers up near front of the field that we haven't yet talked to. Let's see if we can drag in the number 70 machine. I want to hear what Scott Eckridge has to say in that Amsoil machine, because he's kind of got a little bit of a modified vibe here tonight. Scott Eckridge, Peter Short, 3 wide TV booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Well, like I said, you got the modified vibe going on here tonight. You're missing your front end. You're also missing the back end. You probably can't see that, but you're up there. You have slightly older tires than the cars around you, but we know you're extremely good on tires. You think you have a shot for that number 11 machine here in the closing laps?
I don't know. It's super, super hard to pass here, and you could run a specific line there that makes it pretty impossible. We're gonna give it all we can go, though. You know, we're gonna give it a shot here, but we ain't trying to wreck nobody for it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, you know, that's probably what a lot of drivers came into tonight saying, but, you know, it's been a tough race. We went to single file restarts here. What are your thoughts of that?
Yeah, I think it's just Martinsville. I hope this helps, but I somehow doubt it.
Yeah, well, we kind of saw one quickly come out there in the number, you know, just the turn number 1. We saw a caution flag come out, so that's going to be probably on the driver's mind. When you come to a racetrack and you have a race like this, kind of how do you strategize your race?
Try to avoid hitting stuff, which, you know, so far no check there. Just hope you can be up front right now. That's all I can say.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it, Scott. Best of luck. All right, well, folks, that is your current second place driver. Pace truck lights have turned off. You heard it from him right there. Trying to stay off of things, Greg. We'll see if that happens here, as the lap count is pretty quickly winding down, even though we are under the caution flag once again.
We're inside 40 to go now. Closing in on 30. Seville looking for that first win of the season, but remember, he is known for prowess on the short track, getting that win in North Wilkesboro last year. But how many times, Peter, as the green flag falls, we're back underway, how many times was Tyler Seville in the mix at the end of the race and unfortunately had it slip out of his hands in some way or another? How many times has Seville been in this position?
Oh man, Seville was in this position back in the 3 wide TV 200 back at Homestead, Miami earlier this season. He has had quite a few race wins slip away from him. And folks, caution flag is back in the air. Hearing Woody Mahan might have had an issue in his number 80 24 machine. He had to take a tow. I think he tried to do that to try and not bring out the caution flag. He was all alone by himself out there on the racetrack. We'll see what happened here going off into turn number 1. Too much rear brake, back end, just steps out on him and goes around up into the outside wall in the Alliance RV Ford Mustang. And he will park it here tonight. Also hearing Michael Larch has taken his number 3 to the garage as well. Well, caution flag back in the air. So, Greg, who are we going to dial up under this caution?
You know who we haven't talked to? I don't think we've talked to him all year. He's running a very special paint scheme. Let's talk to the 00 of Grant Brown and see how the short track ringer, the late model driver, is having it. Grant Brown, Greg Rents 3YTV, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Hey, man, first off, a very special paint scheme for you. We'll have you talk a little bit about that, but also it's been quite the night for you here, up in the top 5 for a majority of it.
Yeah, it's been a good time here, just trying to save tires and keep the car in one piece. Got a little damage, but nevertheless, trying to keep it up here.
Well, Grant, real quick, tell us about this paint scheme. We talked about it a little bit. Your nephew designed that one. I think he's got a future in graphic design, because that's a very sporty looking 00 Mustang tonight.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty great. Shout out to my 3-year-old nephew Riot for coloring it. You can tell that the crayon strokes were definitely much more advanced than his 3-year-old brain. So excited to get it running good here, and hopefully we can have a good finish.
One last question, Grant, before we let you go get ready for this restart. You are a late model driver. You race on short tracks all around the Midwest. What does that experience in real life short track racing, what is it paying off here tonight with this top 5 run? What are you able to apply from the late model racing to this race tonight?
It's really about tire management. It's all about saving that right front and just trying to let the car rotate and drive off, and that's really about all there is to it.
Third place. Good luck the rest of the way, Grant.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we'll let him get back to it. Grant, just a quick question. Were you in the Dirty Bird channel, or were you in the Loud Pedal channel?
No comment.
No comment. Honestly, which one?
We are in Loud Pedal right now.
Alrighty, 10-4. We'll make sure you go to the right channels. He can be with his teammates. Now, don't want to. We did that last year at Martinsville. We screwed up someone's race right there at the end of the race. We just gotta make sure they get to the right place. Sometimes you quickly move them out, and then you go, oh man, which channel did you move them from? There are lots of different channels in the Discord here where all these team drivers converse with one another through the night. Pace truck headed down pit road. Race in the hands of the number 11 machine, Tyler Seville. He's right up there against the wall here, Greg, for this particular restart. And he's on the Loud Pedal. Green flag back in the air here at Martinsville.
Seville trying to break away, but Eckridge right there in the number 70. Putting the pressure on. Grant Brown in the 00. How about Steve Yenish in the 23 up in the top 5 with Brian Yazik, another Loud Pedal driver, right behind him. As they come through 3 and 4, hold your breath. Race fans, we have completed a lap under green here in the last 50 laps. Impressive job by Tyler Seville and Scott Eckridge.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this race will wind down very quickly. Here comes Adam Chersky with a late lunge as the caution flag is back out here. Alan Young, the 24 machine, has gone around. Oof. Out of turn number 2, we'll see what happened to the Young Gun Creations number 24 machine. Alan Young really been trying to get his season turned around here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Looking a little bit further back there. Ooh, Braxton DeWeese making contact with him in the number 5 machine. I'm sure Braxton will be saying, hey, the 24 came down. I'm sure the 24 will be saying, I got hit. That's going to be an interesting one to kind of let the race administrators call, but Alan Young getting the bad end of that stick. We'll get a look here from the helicopter cam here, Greg.
DeWeese get a big run, and unfortunately, just right there, the contact between DeWeese and Young noses it into the wall. Wow, who was that who squeaks through there on the outside? 43, Richard Fletcher was caught up in one earlier. He just barely squeaks through.
Yeah, there was a good number of cars there just squeaking on past the number 24 of Alan Young. Now, of course, a lot of people in the chat, I've been watching the discussion. Todd Kirkwood has been talking about the penalty point situation, Greg, and good time to talk about the penalty point situation because a lot of these drivers who have caused an accident here tonight will be receiving penalty points on their record for next week's race. And Greg, why don't you explain the strike system to the viewers watching at home?
Well, not as familiar with the strike system as I am in some of the other leagues that I compete in, but I know that the strikes put you on a one race probation. So definitely going to be a lot of drivers on probation here after this race. And here's the thing, Peter, we're heading to another short track next week. So no doubt the penalty system is going to be very, very busy for not just this race, but the next week in general. That's got to be a little bit nervous if you're in the admins right now, because you're having quite frankly, you're having a penalty-filled race here tonight, heading into what could possibly be another one next week. A lot of drivers may be thinking to themselves, okay, what can we do differently here off of this race to make sure that we don't have a repeat of it next race? And no doubt there's going to be quite the group discussion moving forward after this race.
Well, I think that's going to be it. We're going to have a lot of drivers who will be on one strike. Some drivers might even be suspended for next week at Richmond if they develop multiple strikes. They will be suspended for one race, and that is kind of the way that the administrators try to avoid these types of races. Is they say these drivers, hey, you got to be on your best behavior, because not only do you have yourself out there on the racetrack that you're accountable for, but you're also accountable for the sponsor on these race cars. Every single car in this field who's running a sponsor has a commitment to that particular sponsor to try and show off that car in a good light. So, that's what these drivers will be thinking about. They're also thinking about the green flag because we're racing once again here at Martinsville. The 70 of Scott Eckridge chasing Tyler Seville off into turn number 1. Grant Brown there in the 00. He's going to stay in third. No side-by-side racing I'm seeing just yet. Maybe Adam Blattel in the number 7 machine and Jonathan Cadell are side-by-side. Cadell in his number 96. He's trying to pick up a couple of positions here on this restart. Looks like Blattel definitely off the pace in this particular restart, going from 10th back to 13th, as Cadell is going to pick up that spot around the high line and move his way up to 12th. And the 00, Grant Brown, having some connection issues up at the front of the field in third, had a little bit of trouble there locking up the tires as well. So Grant Brown here possibly struggling on a little bit older tires. Meanwhile, Brian Yazek in the ATPSimulation.com machine just smacked it off the wall coming out of turn number 2. Opened up the door for Greg Evans. Evans trying to get himself back up in the top 5. Evans splits the apron coming out of turn number 4. But he's able to get the power down. It looks like he's going to hold off Brian Yazek going off into turn number 1.
Having a little bit of technical issues on my end, so I apologize if I drop out. Caution is out. Alan Young in the number 24. Oh, Mark Myers bounces off the wall right as we pick him up on camera. He bounces off the inside wall. And Alan Young going around again.
Not exactly sure what happened there. I think I don't see any issue with the 24 machine until right there at the end, but let's see right here, focusing on the number 24, and just two cars coming together, and the 04 and the 24, and that appears to be possibly night done for both of those drivers. Not sure what happened there. Might have been a little bit of net code involved between the 24 and the 04. We'll see from the high atop view. And they look like they just came together there on the backstretch, and Alan Young just got backed up into the outside wall. Mark Myers then smacked into the inside wall in the front stretch, and then the 24 went around on the front stretch. So I don't know what was going on there here in Martinsville, but a couple of these drivers having problems out there on the racetrack, even under caution.
That was Donuts on the number 24 car. You see the contact. We'll see if we can figure out what happened with Mark Myers, but yeah, that looked to me like the 24 just started doing donuts on the front stretch. Let's take a look at what happened here with Mark Myers. Had to snap up. Now watch in the back, you see the 24 just come to a stop, and there's the throttle on the gas, and he just starts doing donuts.
Yeah, possibly the 24 might have slowed down and then spun his tires, getting back on the throttle. It caused him to go around. But yeah, Mark Myers looks like he just was going a little bit too hot and heavy down the front stretch and locked up the brakes, spun down into the inside wall. There's going to be a lot to review after this race, right? For the race administrators. They do an excellent job of it. I have to say, whenever we as the commentators get the penalty report midweek, and it might take a couple of days for this one, folks, but the penalty report extremely detailed in what went on. There is also a appeals committee that we see every once in a while. In fact, the appeals committee was used a couple times this past week for people who appealed penalties that might have been received by the race administrators. And that appeals committee is a couple of highly respected racers in and amongst the league who are separate from the administrators. They will review something very separate from the administrators as to kind of be a separate entity. And you have that avenue. Now you also have the ability to just protest something that didn't bring out a caution. There might be a couple of incidents here tonight that might be worthy of a protest that didn't actually bring out a yellow. If it is a yellow flag that comes out, it's automatically reviewed by the race administrators after the race for that strike system that we mentioned. But there might also be a couple of others that drivers might protest as the night goes on. So we'll just have to wait for that penalty report midweek. But let's not talk about it right now because the green flag is about to come out. The number 11, Tyler Seville, he wants to see out tonight's race. Coming to the green flag, just 12 more laps to go, barring any green-white checker. Seville leads him off into turn number 1. Eckridge in second, Grant Brown in third. Steve Yanish, big wiggle out of the Tampa SUVRentals.com Toyota Camry. And he's going to open up the door for the number 2 of Greg Evans here, going off into 3 and 4.
Can Evans steal another one here late in the going? 11 laps to go, and Greg Evans is fought back up into 4th. But Brian Yosek right on his tail, trying to follow him through. Evans clears, caution is out. Wilt Worsler, a rough night at the office continues for the 29.
He was running in the 11th position that last time by. We'll see what brought out the caution flag on this one. There might have been a little bit of contact. See Jonathan Cadell tucked up right underneath that number 29 machine. Cadell goes down. You see the 29 giving him a little bit of a block there, and Cadell gives him a little bit of a nudge. I think Cadell might have just been trying to push him up out of the groove there, Greg. But from what we have seen here tonight, these cars are not stable enough to kind of pull off the bump and run, especially at that spot on the racetrack where you got all of that load on the front tires, your back end very light, and looks like Jonathan Cadell here might be the driver who will be receiving this particular caution flag. We'll see whether or not he gets moved to the back half of the field in the number 96 Extreme Sim Racing Toyota Camry. Caution flag back in the air here, now under 10 laps to go. We have had a very exciting night here, lots of action. I'll tell you what, if you tune in for tonight's race for the twists and turns, well, there have been plenty of them. Pretty much every driver in the field at least has been involved in some accident here tonight. Trying to find Greg, who has the cleanest car in the field, probably out of all of them. It's probably Greg Evans there sitting in the 4th spot. Him and Grant Brown have relatively clean race cars. Tyler Seville has a...
Yazdic looks pretty good. A little bit of damage on the right front of the 55. Nothing major.
I know Doug Mullins has had ups and downs. He's got a pretty clean car. I mean, Jonathan Cadell, I take it back. Jonathan Cadell, I know he was just involved in that accident, but Jonathan Cadell probably has the cleanest race car in the field. I don't see a whole lot of damage on the Extreme Sim Racing number 96 machine. Now, looks like there might have been a connection issue on the number 96 machine of Jonathan Cadell. As well, it looks like he's loaded up, and his night is going to be done here on Prix TV. But up at the front of the field, Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine will be leading us back to the green flag at some point as we work lap number 194. By my math, Greg, I think we're going to have a 5-lap shootout, assuming the pace truck lights turn off right now.
This is going to be interesting shootout time, which means Scott Eckridge, he may only have one more shot if we can stay green the rest of the way. But Tyler Seville in the 11 has been very strong on these restarts, but he knows we're getting in the green-white checker territory as well in that number 11. He knows one more caution is setting up overtime.
Yeah, and of course the big question is going to be whether or not we get any green-white checkers in tonight's race. I think based off of what we have seen, there will be plenty of green-white checkers here tonight. We might have all 3 of them. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that is going to happen. Pace truck is going to head down onto pit road. We'll see if that's going to be the final time or not, but coming to, like I said, 5 laps to go. Green flag in the flagman's hand, and we're back racing at Martinsville. Seville leads them down off into turn number 1. Eckridge in second. In third, Grant Brown. Greg Evans won 4 races so far this season in the number 2 machine. He's currently sitting in 4th. Caution flag has come back out. Tim Knott has gone around in turn number 1 in the Gunskins number 41 machine. Another one of those series sponsors this year, gunskins.com. We'll see what happened to bring out this particular caution with that number 41 machine that you see right there, Greg.
Look, contact with Harnish right there. Harnish able to get by, or at least get to his door on the inside there. Did they make contact again? No! Behind him. 29 of Worsler making contact.
Yep, so that number 41 machine of Tim Knott goes around. Caution flag back in the air. And we'll see if, we'll see where that exactly gets called, but nonetheless, Greg, we're going to have more laps here tonight. We're going to have overtime at Martinsville or a green-white checker at this racetrack. You see another car getting the wave around, and I think this time it's Thomas George in his Snap-on Chevrolet. He'll be 6 laps down after picking up the lucky dog here. We've had quite a few lucky dogs here tonight, but the race will be extended for one of 3 attempts at a green-white checker for everyone watching in the chat here tonight. And I think, Aunt Kathy, if you're still here, I think we're creeping closer to your guess here on the caution count. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that number falls at the end of the night. But my, oh my, what a crazy night it has been here at Martinsville. And Tyler Seville's liking what he's seeing up at the front of the field, Greg.
Tyler Seville has loved these last 50 laps because all these cautions have just clicked laps away to get him into this position that we're in now. A shot at an overtime victory. All he's got to do is get back to the line 2 more times, and he's got it. Unfortunately for him, though, he knows Eckridge, Brown, Evans, and Yenish behind him. He knows now they're going to be throwing everything they have. Eckridge got really loose off of turn number 2 on that last restart. Made a nice save, but Seville knows now he's got to really find that sweet spot between offense and defense. He wants to try to end this one, but he knows he's got to hold them off because they are going to be throwing everything in their playbook at him.
Yeah, you're really going to have to time the restart, Greg. I think if you're Scott Eckridge, if you're going to want to have a shot at Tyler Seville, especially with these single-file restarts that we're seeing here tonight, at Martinsville. Of course, we did that because we had some a flurry of caution flags there after the halfway mark, and we went to the single file restarts, and really, for Scott Eckrich, he's going to have to time this restart perfectly. He's going to have to stay right there on the back bumper of Tyler Seville, try and make a run on him coming out of a corner. That's how you make a pass here at Martinsville. You set him up coming out of a corner. That's what you have to do. You have to get the power down. Now, this is a fixed setup league, so that's easier said than done. We'll see whether or not the first attempt at a green-white checker holds fruition for Tyler Seville or someone else in the field as the pace car is off. Green flag in the air, Greg.
Ooh, Eckrich might get him here on this restart. He did what he had to do. No, Seville able to shut the door. That was a great restart by Eckrich, but Tyler Seville defended that perfectly in the number 11. And now, as they go off into turn number 3, Seville's just hoping, please let me get back to the line. Please let me get back to the line. Off of turn number 4, got loose. White flag. We will have the end of the race. Grant Brown, full send, but connection issues in the 0-0. Tyler Seville's loving this in his mirror.
Tyler Seville, white flag is out. We won't have another attempt at a green-white checker. The battle's for second behind, and with 0-0, Grant Brown sends it off into turn number 3, but Tyler Seville goes to victory lane. The first driver not named Eckrich or Evans to go to victory lane. And speaking of Eckrich and Evans, they're hard into one another off in turn number 1.
That was fighting for the position all the way to the wire. Give the third spot to Eckrich at the end, but Tyler Seville finally breaking through and getting that first win of the season. And wow, it was a long one tonight, but Tyler Seville going to make it worth it, and his teammates joining him here on the front stretch. Doug Mullins, Scott Eckrich, not a member of Will Warsaw Racing, but coming to a stop up there. But Tyler Seville, the first win for Will Warsaw Racing this year, and getting to burn it down here. He's taking home a grandfather flag.
That he is. Arch Telecom is fairly recent to the number 11 machine, and he is going to be one happy man as Tyler Seville right here on the front stretch. A couple of his teammates joining him out there on the start-finish line for celebrations after the race. We mentioned last week, Greg, that Seville has just been knocking on the door. Well, he's finally able to do it, becoming just the third driver to get to victory lane this season.
4th career Hacksaw PC's victory for Tyler Seville, and he earned this one, Peter, and deserves it as well. So many times, feels like every single week, going back even to last year, we were talking about Tyler Seville being up in the mix. So many races getting away from him late. Awesome to see Seville on the other end of it for a change here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. His 4th career Hacksaw PC's Premier Series victory. First of the year, very well deserved for Seville.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, you know, he finally gets the victory lane after what has been a pretty good season, all things considered. Up there in the point standings, up in the top 5. Just that win has been eluding him. Going back to last season for his last win here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. But folks, don't go anywhere. We got some post-race interviews lined up for you here in just a little bit here on 3 Wide TV. All right, folks, welcome back to Martinsville Speedway, where tonight's 200-lap event has come to an end. The Famuchi wear 200, and I believe Mr. Greg Rentz is caught up with tonight's third-place finisher, Scott Eckridge.
And Scott, it was an up and down day for you, starting up near the front. But man, you started in 8th, got caught up in an early incident, and from then on, it was a modified for pretty much the entirety of the race. But that tenacity, never giving up, you fight your way up into the top 10, then the top 5, and finally, you come home with the third. Up and down race for you, but man, it's got to be a relief to come away with the third.
Yeah, I guess all said and done, I was just telling Tyler there that thing felt like it come off the corner like a school bus there. So it's just, yeah, it was not helping. It's always like this at Martinsville. So it feels good to get out of here, at least on the podium.
Scott, tell us about just how you had to change the way you were driving as the car just got a little bit more damage here, a little bit more damage there. As the car took a little bit more of a beating throughout the race, how did you have to change the way you were driving? As far as like strategy-wise, did you go on, okay, got to get up and get as much as I can, or did you kind of go into conservation mode to try to save as much as you could for this end of the race push?
Yeah, I mean, so just trying to get all I could get out of the entry, because, you know, that's the one I can control without motor. And from that point on, it's just trying to get as much track position as you can, because just the way the model is here and the groove, that it's just, you can't pass unless you mess up, so, or the guy in front of you messes up. So it's really just trying to stay as close to the front as you humanly can and hope the guy in front of you messes up more than you do.
Well, Scott, not really a big chance to breathe, because next week we've got another Virginia short track as we're headed across the state to Richmond, Virginia. Are you expecting more of the same next week at the 3/4 mile, or are we going to see something a little bit different?
Oh boy, I hope it's different. You get a little more room at Richmond. You kind of get a groove and a half that you can run on, so I guess we all better hope it goes a little better.
All right, Scott, third place for you here tonight, but you got 3 wins already on the season. Another chance for you to thank who got you here on the 70.
Yeah, just like to thank everybody on the team, and, you know, the guys for setting up the practice servers beforehand. You know, it always adds up. And congrats to Tyler for breaking the streak there.
Scott Eckridge comes home in the 3rd place. Congratulations. And I believe that Peter Short has made his way down to 2nd place for his best finish of the season. And have to go back and look, but I believe this may be the best finish of his career. Peter Short's with Grant Brown.
Yeah, I'm here with the 00 Grant Brown, and Grant, you were really fast tonight. Started tonight in 10th. It wasn't all too long before we looked up, saw you there inside the top 3. You were the biggest mover there inside the top 5 in the first half of the race. Strategy just worked out for you in the 00 machine. You called your shots well. Not quite able to take home the win here tonight, but 2nd is nothing to be scoffed at. Tell us about your night.
Yeah, overall it was a pretty good night. Wish we would have had a lot more green flag laps. I think I definitely did have something in the long run pace over the short run, but you take what you can get. So not too upset about a 2nd. It's my best finish here in the Premier Series so far. So we'll look to build on it going into Richmond, I guess.
Yeah, and let's talk about Richmond. It's another short track next week, 3/4 mile D-shaped oval. A little bit different than what we saw here tonight. What are your thoughts about Richmond?
Any race that we're at a short track, I feel like I got a shot at least top 5, top 10. So I'm all for it. Martinsville was kind of a guessing game here with strategy. It was kind of pit early, and just hope that nobody's able to bang their way through the field in order to make it up. Richmond, I think it's going to be a lot about how smooth you can get off the 4 and save your tires.
Yeah, of course, we saw that a lot here tonight with drivers lighting up the rear tires at Martinsville. You definitely did a great job there of keeping tires underneath you. And speaking of keeping tires underneath you, right there at the very end, the number 70 of Eckridge had those rear tires light up coming out of turn number 4, coming to the white flag, and you were able to make that last lap lunge. What was going through your head as you got underneath the main, who's won 3 times this season?
I just kind of zoned in. I saw him slip up, which is very unusual for Scott, so just tried to make the best of it and was actually able to come away with the spot out of it. So just wish I would have had a couple more laps to potentially get to the 11th back bumper.
Yeah, that is for sure. But before we let you go here tonight, Grant, any shout outs that you'd like to give?
Sure. Shout out to my nephew Riot for painting the car. Helped raise over $190, I think, for the Muscular Dystrophy Association tonight through that. So very proud of that, and we definitely run this car more in order to raise more money and awareness. Also Advanced Auto Parts, the Jerky Lodge, Jordan Harnish for doing a lot of practice time with me. Unfortunately, he didn't have a great result tonight, but hopefully he can turn it around next week.
Absolutely. Well, Grant, congratulations on finishing runner-up here tonight. We're looking forward to see you out there at Richmond next week. Another short track. You sound like you are ready for it yourself. Best of luck in Richmond there, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our second place finisher here tonight. 0-0 of Grant Brown. And now Greg Rentz is caught up with the man who's gotten himself to victory lane for the first time this season, Greg.
And Tyler Seville, 76 laps led tonight, but man, those must have been the most nerve-wracking 76 laps of your season thus far, knowing the way that race was going, knowing how many cautions had fallen, what was going through your mind in those closing stages as you were just trying to get to the end.
I was a little bit in disbelief when I got up there. I know I didn't have the speed of some of the people behind me, but I was able to just keep it on the bottom, and nobody was able to close enough to get to me or attempted to move me. But there were a ton of cautions tonight. I'm glad we didn't get another green, white checkered, and I'm really happy to get it put in victory lane this early in the season.
24 cautions on the night for 119 of 203 laps here for those keeping track at home. But Tyler, you mentioned you were very happy not to have another green, white checkered. The way that happened, though, with Eckrich kind of spinning the tires, Grant Brown able to get to the inside, do you think you would have been able to defend him had you gotten another one, or did you know coming off of turn number 4, coming to the white flag, if you could get to the white flag, that was it?
I was pretty confident that if I got to the white flag, that would be it. Just because I knew how I was going to enter the corner, so I knew the only way he was going to be able to get by me was he was going to have to try to move me up out of the groove. But if that's the case, then it risks neither one of us winning. So it's that risk-reward scenario. But yeah, thankfully we got to that white flag, and they got side by side behind me.
Well, Tyler, we're not going to get a chance to breathe because we're headed to the other short track here in the state of Virginia. We're headed to Richmond here next week. And this is your second short track win in the series. You won North Wilkesboro last season. Now Martinsville this year. You kind of have begun to fancy yourself a short track guy, someone to keep an eye on. What are you expecting next week from Richmond?
I think I'll be pretty good. I don't know if I'll have race winning speed, but my team, we're going to put in the time like we do every week. I think if more teams put in the work like we do, we would have less cautions than what we do. But I fully expect to be running up near the front, hopefully contending for another win next week.
Tyler Seville getting that first win of the season, and it's your first win with the new sponsor on board. This is your first chance to thank him in victory lane. So who got you here?
Yeah, I got to thank Arch Telecom for coming on board. For the year, I also have to thank all of our other partners at Will Wursler Racing. You have High Flow, you have Wine Bar, you have Custom Paints and Diecast with Jordan Berry. He helps us out a lot. And I have to thank all of my teammates because Will Wursler was the best driver out of everyone on our team here. And being able to practice with him is what allowed me to be competitive and then ultimately end up winning. So it takes a team to get here, so just proud of everybody.
Team effort here from Will Wursler Racing, and it works here tonight. Tyler Seville, congratulations.
Thank you, and we got a shout out to Nikki Wursler cheering us on in the chat too. The real boss.
Definitely, for sure. So Tyler Seville, 4th career win, first of the season. Congratulations. Well, Peter, only one more piece of business to go to. We got to give him the rundown because I know this one was hard to keep track of. this race was a mess. Not as big of a mess as I can be on some nights here. Thanks for that one, Aunt Kathy. But Peter, let's take him through the finishing order.
And Aunt Kathy, by Greg Rentz's number, you missed it by 1 here tonight. 24 cautions is at least the unofficial count here up in the 3 wide TV booth. Tyler Seville taking home the win here in the Famuchi Ware 200 in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Nonetheless, though, up at the top of the chart, Grant Brown slotting into second in the 00 machine. Great run for him. Scott Eckrich has won 3 times this season, but comes home in the 3rd position tonight. Greg Evans, who's won 4 times this season, comes home in the 4th position. Also, come to think of it, Tyler Seville's won once, and he won once, and he finished first. I don't know. The only person who doesn't stick with that's Graham Brown up there in the top 4. Steve Yenish up there in the 5th position. Great run for him, bouncing back in his Tampa SUVRentals.com machine. Brian Yazik, HPPSimulation.com Ford coming home in 6th. The Beef Jerski's Cheesecake Emporium, number 69, Adam Jersky finishing up there in 7th. The VRS, number 15 machine of Rhett McBride coming home in 8th. Doug Mullins, the Wine, a Slice Pizza Bar Experience, there finishing in 9th position. Jeff Yenish, like his teammate and brother there, finishing up inside the top 10 there, Greg.
Coming home in the 11th spot. How about it for Adam Blattel in the number 7? A quiet night, has some struggles at some point, but comes home in 11th. Corey Silva, a nice recovery to finish in the 12th spot. Cody Spiker got caught up in that one incident that didn't bring out the caution that we were a little surprised about. Jordan Harnish, 14th. Danny Gutierrez caught up early and comes home 15th. Troy Hayton, John Eckhart come home 16th and 17th. Top 20 was rounded out by Richard Fletcher, who has a quiet night to finish on the lead lap. Braxton Deweese and Mark Myers, who had quite the adventure tonight in the 04, comes home 20th, Peter.
Yeah, basically every driver below Mark Myers had quite the adventure here tonight. Tim Knott, the number 41 Gunskins.com machine, comes home 21st. AJ Digby, 22nd. Gary Reynolds Jr. in the 13 car, 23rd. Will Worsler coming home 24th. Jason Stewart in the 1, 25th. Kevin Stone in the 17, of course, sponsored by Famuchi Ware, coming home in the 26th spot. Pete Baskins in the number 39, finishing 27th. Thomas George in 28th. Jonathan Cadell was your Midwest Simulations Pole Award winner and led the most laps here tonight, coming home 29th. Johnny Avila in 30th. Alan Young, 31st. Woody Mahan, 32nd. Jonathan Holstein, 33rd. Michael Larch, 34th. Evan Black, 35th. Mark Cohn, 36th. Kevin Klein, Anthony Pelican, Michael Krobach, and Jackson Van Volkenberg rounding out your 40-car field here tonight. Of course, Van Volkenberg and Michael Krobach doing a little bit of aerobatics there on lap number 17 here tonight. But Greg, hopefully we get to see a lot of green flag racing next week at Richmond. Tonight's really been kind of a standout versus what we have seen this season. We've seen a lot of green flag running. Hopefully we can get back to that at Richmond. Hopefully a lot more passing as well. But any final thoughts, Greg?
I was just looking forward to Richmond next week because Richmond is another track kind of like Martinsville. It can go one way or it can go an entirely different way. Here, like we saw at Martinsville tonight, 24 cautions for 119 laps tonight. But Richmond, last year, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, they were able to go 170 laps straight, green flag at Richmond last year. So this could very, very much be a race similar to what we saw tonight, or it could become a race that's entirely different. The only way for you to find out what happens is to tune in next week on 3Y TV.
Absolutely. And of course, that's gonna be it for tonight's Famuchi Ware 200. But like Greg said, make sure you tune in for round number 2 of the SimSpeed Shop Wheelman Showdown, Richmond 200, right here on 3Y TV, 9 o'clock Eastern next Tuesday night. But before we go, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles we bring you each and every week here on the channel. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Ransom, Mr. Carlos Acosta in the production booth, folks, stay safe, have a good night, and we shall see ya.